Chapter 241. The sand covered the sky, blocking Akira Uchiha's path. No matter how he tried to dodge, he couldn't escape from the sand. What happened to the trust between a human and a beast? In desperation, he quickly printed the Chidori in his hand, making a harsh sound of a bird. At this time, he didn't need to use a wide range of ninjutsu to resist Shikaku's attack. Breaking the surface with a single point is always the easiest way. Then Chidori in his hand covered his arm like water, and then quickly spread, and finally covered his whole body like a thin film. Lightning released Chidori Ryu. Using his arm as a piercing point, he was bound to drill into the countless sand. Shikaku has the ability to seal, even Madara can't do it. Moreover, he doesn't have a thick turtle shell like Raikage, so if he wants to guard against Shikaku's attack, a layer of defense is absolutely necessary. Under the stimulation of the lightning chakra, Chun took a step back, bent his legs, and his whole body was like a big bow, and then he suddenly leaped. Boom! The sand splashed, leaving a huge hole on the ground, and he took Chidori directly to the black curtain in the sky. Under the control of Shikaku, the sand quickly fell, and began to close to the shape of a ball, so that the originally net-like ninjutsu began to quickly change shape. Now it looked like a gigantic Shikaku shield, and Akira Uchiha's body was already submerged in it. Under the control of Shikaku, the shield continued to shrink, and the ninjutsu that originally had some gaps became more solid, and at the same time, purple lines also emerged and became clearer. Hey! Shikaku excitedly laughed. As long as he can kill Akira Uchiha, he didn't care about anything else. The Sand Village seems to be fighting, but what does it have to do with him? He was bored and wanted to attract some ninjas to play with him. The only regret is that he didn't get more information about that smelly fox. After completing the ninjutsu, Shikaku excitedly roared as if he had already seen Akira Uchiha's corpse. Finally dead. Which of those humans who bullied me didn't die in the end? Walla walla. Its laughter did not stop. The sand above it shook violently and then fell down like a storm. The sound of birds chirping became louder and louder. Bang! Akira Uchiha, who was wrapped in lightning release, finally broke through the sand and escaped from inside. At the same time, Chidori in his hand quickly elongated into several meters long beam of light, cutting down toward Shikaku's head. Not dead yet. That damned wood-leaf brat. Shikaku's head fell on the sand and issued a sharp sound. At the same time, the head quickly turned into a pile of useless sand. And under the control of Shikaku's body, another head made of sand appeared on his shoulder. The violent anger made Shikaku lose all reason. At the same time when Akira Uchiha landed, its golden pillar-like arm directly inserted into the desert sand. Quicksand Storm. Last time when he fought against 3 generations of Kazekage, Akira Uchiha also saw this ninjutsu. At that time, Orochimaru used Rashomon to barely resist this ninjutsu. But today, Shikaku seemed to be more powerful. After all, its chakra was much more than that of 3 generations of Kazekage, and this was a desert environment. So in Akira Uchiha's field of vision, everything became Shikaku's territory. All the sand in the area turned into a wave-like shape. Naturally, he couldn't block it. Akira Uchiha didn't know how to use Rashomon, so he quickly retreated, while at the same time forming hand seals. Mutual explosive symbol array. Dozens of small purple snakes appeared in the rolling sand. Those snakes didn't look like anything, but each of them had a mutual explosive symbol in their stomach. This move was naturally prepared by Akira Uchiha to trick people. Putting the mutual explosive symbol in the snake's stomach, and letting the snakes put it there. On the one hand, it won't affect oneself. On the other hand, this kind of small snake can drill through the ground, and many people won't pay attention to it in battle. Therefore, this ninjutsu was specially used to deal with those pretentious people. For example, Gaara's father Rosa, when fighting, he liked to control the sand and then stay motionless. At this time, as long as a small snake was put there, and then attached to his shoe, that kind of scene was simply unimaginable. As the small purple snakes scattered, the mutual explosive symbol was also instantly detonated. The explosive symbols hidden in the Ryuchi cave were constantly psychic, and one by one, they madly exploded. The sand that was spreading over was blasted away, and the surrounding air was vibrating. After the aftershock spread out, countless airwaves attacked like a torrential rain, causing the ground to be riddled with holes. Finally, after a few minutes, the explosion stopped. Akira Uchiha didn't expect so many mutual explosive symbols to explode together to be so powerful. Although I can't beat you, you can't kill me, and I have a lot of mutual explosive symbols. In order to make them, I even opened a weapon store. Akira Uchiha said loudly to Shikaku. Also, if you want to use Baijidama on me, I will directly use reverse summoning technique to leave. He quickly pulled Big White on his neck. Shikaku bitterly closed its mouth. It just wanted to use this move. It suddenly found that it really couldn't kill this little devil, so after a short period of shock, Shikaku's mood changed from anger to grief, and directly threw itself on the sand and began to roll. Akira Uchiha. After a few minutes, Shikaku finally stopped. How about we call a truce? Then it threw out such a sentence. That's the right thing to do. Akira Uchiha nodded, and quickly ate a few soldier food pills to restore his chakra. After all, Shikaku didn't keep its word, so he had to be on guard. Little devil. Why are you targeting me like this? I don't have a grudge with you with leaf ninjas. Akira Uchiha rolled his eyes. I saved you last time, did you forget? Moreover, our target from the beginning was the Sand Village's ninjas. Then let's sit down and talk? Shikaku anxiously said such words to Akira Uchiha. But in a place that couldn't be seen, its body swelled up again. Although they were chatting noisily, they were secretly doing these little things. Should I say that it was really worthy of being a tailed beast? Their hatred for humans was never that simple. So Akira Uchiha waved his hand, and used lightning release to disperse the sand attack behind him. You were discovered again, you sly little devil. Akira Uchiha shook his head. You don't need to test me. Any movement you make will be useless in front of my eyes. Shikaku lightly snorted. Cursed eyes, and Uchiha is even more evil than a tailed beast. Eyes may be cursed, but people are not necessarily evil, so it's better not to judge me just by my appearance and impression. Akira Uchiha didn't care about the sand on the ground, and directly sat down cross-legged. Little devil. What you said is reasonable. That old man called Bunpuku also said something similar. You are really interesting, and not the same as those humans. So you have a good relationship with that smelly fox? Shikaku suddenly changed the thread of discussion and asked. Akira Uchiha raised his eyebrows. Of course it's true, do you think I would lie? It actually has a good temper. Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. You actually said it has a good temper? Shikaku made a sharp laugh. It has a good temper, my ass. From childhood to adulthood, that smelly fox robbed me of everything. It's me first, it's obviously me first. I was born, I still like. Shikaku suddenly closed his mouth and looked at Akira Uchiha very vigilantly. He actually made me unconsciously speak my mind. This kind of genjutsu is similar to that Kid Indra. Looking at the vigilant Shikaku, Akira Uchiha was silent for a moment, and a crazy idea emerged in his mind. He suddenly asked, Shikaku, how long have you not seen Kyubi? Shikaku thought for a moment and said, almost 100 years, at that time there was no hidden sand village here. Then do you want to see Kyubi? It is now living happily in Manchuriki's body. Shikaku angrily said. What, you want to trick me to go to Woodleaf and then seal me? Akira Uchiha continued to fool him. No, you can give me some chakra. I will take your chakra to Woodleaf to see Kyubi. Isn't that the same as you seeing it? And once you are sealed again, leaving a consciousness outside is also good. Besides, this chakra has no effect on you. And it is useless to me, right? Shikaku didn't speak, but fell into contemplation. Chapter 242. Tailed Beast is a very special creature. As a combination of chakra, they can achieve true immortality. Even the split chakra has self-consciousness, just like the shadow clone jutsu. This can be seen when Kyubi was split into Yin and Yang Kyubi by Watergate. Later, when Shikaku pulled out part of chakra and appeared in Naruto's consciousness, it can also be seen. Even Hagoromo Sun Nin relied on this ability to wander around the edge of the ninja world, to protect this world. Therefore, for Akira Uchiha's proposal, Shikaku was not tempted. It has lived in this desert for hundreds of years, and it doesn't want to leave. But if it doesn't leave, it means that sooner or later it will be caught by the kid of the 3 generations of Kazekage, and sealed in Manchuriki's body. Therefore it also wants to go to Woodleaf where Kurama is. Anyway, it's just a little chakra, it doesn't matter to Shikaku. Thinking like this, it seriously stared at Akira Uchiha again. Is this kid really the existence that the old man said? It shouldn't be. In its impression, Indra is a very gloomy guy, but why does this kid in front of it feel like Azura? Is there a problem with reincarnation? Hey, have you decided? Akira Uchiha looked up and asked again. Under the gaze of Shikaku's big eyes, it's a lie to say that it's not nervous. Tailed Beast can be said to be a particularly complex individual. On the one hand, it is extremely hostile to humans, but on the other hand, it wants to live in peace with humans. As Mito said, Tailed Beast needs to be filled with love. If it's someone else, they will probably scoff at this sentence. After all, Tailed Beast doesn't look so cute. But Akira Uchiha doesn't, as a transmigrator. He knows the character of Tailed Beast very well. They are afraid of loneliness, but they don't dare to approach humans easily. They want to be loved, but they are used to wandering alone. Therefore, as long as you show enough kindness and patience, the Tailed Beasts will be willing to interact with you. Of course, what if you feel impatient and want to get along well with the Tailed Beast? It was very simple. Just beat him up. First Dai wanted to become friends with Kyubi. Would Kyubi refuse? Of course not. After all, he was scared of being beaten up. Akira Uchiha did not have the strength, so he could only use a roundabout tactic. It was hard to say what would happen in the future. If he could build a good relationship with the Tailed Beasts like Naruto, it would be good to collect the Tailed Beast's chakra in advance. The 10-tailed Manchuriki was too risky, not to mention that there was also Black Zetsu behind the scenes, so he had to act early. It would be more troublesome to collect them after the start of the 4th World Championship. And all he had to do was give a little bit of goodwill. Shikaku hesitated for a moment and finally said, I can give you a part of chakra. However, after the chakra was exhausted, my consciousness also disappeared. So you have to hurry up and let me meet with that fox. On the surface, it showed an extremely reluctant expression, as if it was unwilling to accept, but it was very happy in its heart. It had already decided that after sneaking into Woodleaf and meeting Kurama, it would find a chance to sneak away, and finally go to the hidden lightning village to find little Hachi. Thinking about it, it seemed to be a little excited. With its control, a cloud of sand condensed in front of Akira Uchiha, and immediately a palm-sized Shikaku appeared in front of Akira Uchiha. It looks quite cute, Uchiha-chan said with a smile. The palm-sized Shikaku bared its fangs and didn't attack again. So after taking out a scroll, Akira Uchiha impolitely grabbed the neck of the little Shikaku, and then sealed it. Shikaku snorted, and then its whole body dived into the desert and disappeared. Big White, who was wrapped around Shikaku's neck, slowly poked his head out, and with a look of disgust, he swallowed the scroll with the word 1 written on it. Akira Uchiha patted his head, and then walked toward the Sand Village's sealing team. At this time on the battlefield, Shigeru was holding Tong Yi and Silver's hands. The white-toothed short sword bloomed with blue light and cut on the steel puppet, and the lightning instantly spread like a spider web, but the power was suddenly reduced. Shigeru only left a shallow mark on the place where he cut. At this time, the steel puppet punched down, and the air seemed to be compressed, but Shigeru just turned over and appeared a few meters away from it, making the puppet's previous punch miss. Tong Yi was worthy of being Chiyo's son, although he couldn't control 10 puppets at the same time like Chiyo. The number of puppets he could control has reached 6. Moreover, the path he took was different from Chiyo's. Chiyo's white secret technique focused more on the combat power of the puppets, and every puppet she could control had a unique combat ability or ninjutsu. Tong Yi, on the other hand, created a purple secret technique, which focused more on the mechanisms of the puppets, strengthening their offensive and defensive abilities, and usually 2 or 3 puppets assisted each other. Shigeru, who had already destroyed 2 puppets, glanced at his subordinates, and knew that he couldn't delay any longer, so he made another hand seal, Hataki's secret technique. As the hand seal was completed, lightning wrapped around his body, and a fierce and powerful aura spread out. Hitaki's secret technique, at the cost of sacrificing one's body, instantly increasing one's strength. And after using it, there would be a period of weakness. But he couldn't care so much. Tong Yi, who was already in a bad state, looked at Shigeru in shock. He didn't expect that in such a situation. He still had strength left, and a sense of unwillingness filled his heart. As Chiyo's son, he had the halo of a genius since he was young, and there was almost no one his age who was a match for him, until he met Hatsuki Shigeru. At that time, even though the two of them didn't fight, Shigeru's sharp blade skills left a deep impression on him. Even though he was confident that his strength wasn't much weaker than his opponent, and the 3 generations of Kazekage had always told him that Shigeru was inferior to him, he still treated him as a lifelong enemy. However, now that they had fought, he realized that the gap between them was so huge, so how could he not feel disappointed? It turns out that we're not evenly matched in terms of strength, but in terms of looks. Mixed emotions such as these haunted him. Tong Yi used that move. At that moment, Silver, who was already panting, said to Tong Yi while holding his fan. Tong Yi nodded and stopped thinking about it. With a wave of his hand, the remaining 4 puppets surrounded him. With a flick of his finger, the 4 purple puppets merged together to form a new puppet. At the same time, under his control, all the chakra was injected into the puppet through the chakra thread. Immediately after, the new puppet swelled up at a speed visible to the naked eye, becoming bigger and bigger. After Silver, who was at the side, formed more than 10 seals. The wind release was like rows of huge waves, surging and roaring, rolling over. The waves of sand on the ground also formed countless undulating hills, layer upon layer, pressing down on the puppet. At the same time, the purple puppet expanded to 5 to 6 meters in size. Then, it took a step forward and appeared in the wind release. Purple secret technique, Inferno Wind Formation. At that moment, Shigeru had also completed his ninjutsu. The dazzling and astonishing lightning release was in the shape of a strange tree branch. It stabbed down like a sharp sword, creating cracks on the ground one after another, cutting the sand into pieces. It stretched out from all directions towards the short blade in Shigeru's hand. In the next second, his body moved, drawing a blue arc, and plunged into the powerful ninjutsu. Chapter 243. The thick lightning was like a substance, filled with extremely terrifying fluctuations, and suddenly filled the entire battlefield. Shigeru's chakra burst out of his body, and the tyrannical aura mixed with the sword intent in his hand seemed to overflow. There are many ninjas who use swords in the ninja world, but few of them are like him, completely integrating their lightning release and kinjutsu. Shigeru has walked his own path. At this moment, he was confident to the extreme. As long as he holds the sword in his hand, he is invincible. The roar of thunder resounded through everyone's ears, making everyone in a trance for a moment. Shigeru, who had rushed into the wind release, waved his sword forward. White Fang, Lightning Strike. A half-moon-shaped light surged out from the blade, tearing a huge hole in the wind release, and hit the purple puppet. Boom. The sound of the roar continued to spread. The puppet was covered by the lightning release, and the sand on the ground was also crushed by the lightning. But as the lightning gradually dissipated, the puppet controlled by Tunya was exposed, and at this moment, its body was covered with a layer of runes. Hiss! The lightning strike was like a pattern, densely covering the puppet, but after cutting half of it, it was dissipated by the runes. He didn't expect that the 4 new puppets combined together could withstand this blow. Has the defense been strengthened? Shigeru just glanced at the puppet and pulled his attention back. The wind release condensed around his body has reached its limit, making a harsh buzzing sound, cutting the shield into pieces. Unlike his lightning release, the sound of this wind release is not loud, but it has an extremely amazing cutting ability. The vibration of the wind blade is getting faster and faster, and the cutting ability is getting stronger and stronger. In just a moment, his chakra shield can no longer resist. White Fang, Lightning Protection. He waved his short sword again, and the chakra shield that blocked the wind release became solid again. Although it blocked the wind release, it was still difficult for him to get close to Tunya. Tunya's move is very similar to Chiyo's 3 treasure suction. However, the triple treasure suction technique was able to generate a suction force from the puppet, thus sucking in everything covered by the wind shield. On the other hand, Tong Yi and Silver's cooperation used the puppet as the core to generate a repulsive force. Shigeru couldn't get close to the two, but the opponent's ninjutsu could be combined with wind release. Sure enough, he vaguely saw the purple puppet open its mouth. A dark red magma shot out. With the support of wind escape, the magma exploded, and the sand was scorched by the magma. Its power had reached S rank. Shigeru shouted loudly, and an ice-cold saber intent surrounded his body. A sharp and powerful aura spread out, and White Fang, which was in his hand, emitted a buzzing sound, unable to bear the burden. The buzzing sound became increasingly deafening in the short span of a few breaths. The appearance of White Fang in his hand had already undergone a drastic change. The crimson-red chakra covered the blade, forming a chakra blade. It was more than a meter long compared to the White Fang dagger. Immediately afterward, the chakra blade continued to soar, from red to purple, light purple to dark purple, and finally to black. And the chakra blade has become more than 5 meters long. Shigeru's face was a little pale, and his body was slightly swaying, but at this time he couldn't care so much. Hiss! The 5-meter-long chakra blade roared, and made an extremely chaotic sound. Even if its sound wasn't loud, it contained terrifying power. At this time, the blazing magma was already close. In an instant, all the fighting ninjas seemed to stop and looked at Hatsuki Shigeru, who was about to be swallowed. Boom! An amazing thunder and lightning pierced straight down like a sharp sword, cutting the entire sky into pieces and extending toward Shigeru from all directions. Shigeru's eyes were deep, flashing purple light, and his hands waved down, and a light ball more than 20 meters in diameter, like an enlarged version of the White Fang dagger, like a lightning that pierced the sky, cut the magma. Boom! A huge crack appeared on the ground. The turbulent magma quickly flowed backward, and the several meters tall purple puppet was cut in two and fell to the ground. At the same time, accompanied by a tearing sound, the thunder had already penetrated inside, and was wanton destruction. Such a scene caused Tong to be extremely shocked as well. He finally understood why Hatsuki Shigeru was called Woodleaf White Fang. When the White Fang shows its light, it will become the sharp teeth to destroy the darkness. Run! Tong Yi quickly pushed Silver with both hands, but before he could finish his second sentence, the second ball of light had already descended from the sky. Blood flowed out of Shigeru's mouth uncontrollably, and his hands were soaked in blood, but he still managed to swing his sword a second time with great difficulty. Tong Ye's arms were cut off neatly, and his left hand fell to the ground, while the right hand that pushed Silver was still hanging by a corner of his clothes. Beep, beep, beep. Blood dripped onto the ground, but Silver did not feel it. He merely stared blankly at Tong Yi, who had fallen to the ground. Run, run, ah. Tong Yi, who had fallen to the ground, said with great difficulty. The thunder and blade will had merged and invaded his body, and he knew that he was going to die. No. Silver seemed to have gone mad as he rummaged through the scrolls in his ninja bag. However, the harder he tried with his trembling hands, the harder it was for him to find the scroll that sealed the hemostatic pack. No. You won't die. You'll be fine. I won't let you die. Silver, who was trembling all over, finally found the hemostatic pack, but his arms were cut off, and the thunder was wreaking havoc on his wounds. The bleeding could no longer be stopped. At this moment, she was filled with hatred. She hated herself. Why wasn't she a medical ninja? Tong Yi, I beg you, don't die. I beg you, don't leave me. Blood kept flowing out of Tong Ye's mouth, but he was so weak that he could not speak. He could only look at his wife with pleading eyes, begging her to leave him alone quickly, because Hatsuki Shigeru had already walked over with a short knife. However, Silver was still futilely trying to stop Tong Ye's bleeding, but she had no way to treat this kind of injury. That's right. The village. Return to the village. You'll be saved. As long as we return to the village. As if grasping the opportunity, she turned her head and knelt on the ground, begging Shigeru crazily, I beg you, let us go. Silver kept kowtowing and said, Tong Yi is dying. Let me take him away. As long as you promise me, whatever you want, I can give it to you. We won't be ninjas anymore. Even if you want me to join with Leaf, I'm willing. I just beg you, let me take him away. Shigeru sighed and turned to leave with the short knife. He was determined to kill Silver and Tong Yi. He turned around and left because his current condition was very bad. If he forced himself to fight, he might not be able to deal with Silver, who was full of death. Tong Ye's death was inevitable. Shigeru was not in a hurry. He would first deal with the other Sakura shinobu and confirm that Akira Uchiha was not in danger. Then he would gather the other ninjas. It was impossible for Silver to escape. Shigeru sighed in his heart. It had been almost 20 years since he became a ninja. He could no longer remember the scene of his first companion's death, but he could not forget the pain for a long time. This heart, perhaps it had been tempered 1,000 times, but there was still residual heat. He understood Silver's feelings very well. If it were him, he would do the same for his companions and the people he cherished. But the longer Shigeru became a ninja, the more he understood that reality was only filled with helplessness and pain. If he wanted to protect, it would inevitably bring harm. Love would give birth to hatred. There was a karmic relationship between them, and they could not be separated. This was reality. As a ninja of Wood Leaf, Shigeru wanted to protect the village and the people he cherished. So no matter how unwilling he was, he had to bare his white teeth. Ninjas could not have the slightest bit of mercy. Ninjas, Shigeru sighed slightly and walked away. Chapter 244. All right, let's go back to the village. Back to the village. You'll be saved. As long as we return to the village. Silver hugged Tong Yi, who was on the ground, and wanted to help him up. However, Tong Yi shook his head with a pleading expression. He, who was already speechless, only wanted his wife to leave as soon as possible. He understood that Hatsuki Shigeru would not let Silver go. Ninjas were merciless to their enemies. If they did not leave now, they would not have a chance. However, his consciousness was gradually fading, and his pupils began to blur. Tong Yi, who was lying on the ground, understood that death was coming. For an instant, he seemed to see his mother fighting and Scorpion waiting in the village. I'm sorry I can't accompany you. Finally, the last bit of light dissipated from his world. A chill engulfed Silver's entire body. She hugged Tong Yi tightly in her arms as if this was the only way to feel that she was still alive. However, the surroundings were empty, that eerie chill, it was so real. No. No. My Tong Yi won't die either. I beg you don't die. I beg you take pity on me Tong Yi Tong Yi. She kept calling, trying to wake Tong Yi up. However, no matter how hard she tried, the man in her arms did not respond. Finally, she gave up in despair. She was tired, she was also tired, her heart was also dead. In a daze, she felt like she had a long dream. However, with Tong Ye's death, the dream finally shattered. Everything in the past turned into a reflection, hidden behind time, hidden away as if it was a lifetime ago. Silver caressed that familiar face with an extremely gentle expression. We'll be together. We'll be together forever. In her abdomen, a kunai had completely sunk in, and the blood was slowly spreading. I said, if you die, I'll come and accompany you. A gentle breeze blew past, and a white cloud floated in the sky, blocking the sun in the sky. Under the shadow, there was a patch of blood-stained sand, and two people were hugging each other on it. I'm sorry, Scorpion. Old Heizo walked through the long valley at the entrance of the village, and walked under a tall buckthorn. Scorpion, what are you doing? I'm looking at the clouds. It's so beautiful. The red-haired youth sitting under the tree said. The sky looked as if it had been soaked in blue water, appearing clear and ethereal. The silver light gushing out of the cloud mountain was like a floating iceberg, outlining a layer of golden outline under the scorching sun. Second Grandpa, do you think Mom and Dad can see this cloud? And maybe, Hai Laozong said with uncertainty. Looking at Scorpion's disappointed expression, he smiled and rubbed Scorpion's red hair. Haha, I tricked you, right? Of course, they must be missing Scorpion on the other side of the cloud. Really? Scorpion jumped up excitedly and did not care about his messy hair. Then, how can the clouds fall? Daddy and Mommy are on the other side of the cloud. When the cloud falls, they can go home. Hai Laozong shook his head in distress. The clouds are so high, I don't know how to make it fall. Then, when will they come back? Soon. It's always soon. At least give me an accurate time. Hearing Scorpion's words, Hai Laozong could only smile helplessly. Chirp. An eagle's cry suddenly sounded. He looked up and saw a dark green ninja eagle circling the sky a few times before flying towards him. Was it an emergency? With that thought in mind, the ninja eagle stopped above his right arm. Hai Laozong quickly took off the scroll tied to his claw. After a quick glance, he felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. Tong Yi and Silver died in the hands of Woodleaf White Fang. Come quickly. Ow. How could this be? Damn Woodleaf White Fang. Hai Laozong's right hand that was holding the scroll had turned white. The handwriting on the scroll was a little crooked, but he could still recognize that it was his sister Chiyo's handwriting. In other words, this news was true. He, who had never married, treated Tong Yi and Silver as his own children. How could they die just like that? When he left the front line, the situation was still optimistic. How long had it been? Scorpion, who was silently feeling the change in his second grandpa's emotions, had a bad premonition. Suddenly, a tremor ran through his body. Did something happen? Scorpion asked with a nervous look. His drooping arm unconsciously grabbed the corner of his clothes. Hai Laozong reluctantly smiled and said, No, just some problems with Shikaku, nothing serious. Did my mom and dad come back? Well, they suddenly have a new task. It may take a little more time. Really? Of course, I just received a message. Hai Laozong waved the scroll in his hand and said, Your grandma wants you to obediently wait in the village. Hearing his words, Scorpion patted his chest and felt relieved. But then he heard the thing that he didn't want to hear the most. Scorpion, I'm sorry I may not be able to attend your opening ceremony. For some reason, Scorpion's body became hot again, but his mind suddenly became cold. Hey, then what should I do? The ninja school will start in a few days. He finally squeezed out a sentence. I have to take the ninja to the battlefield now. I'm sorry. His body was no longer hot, and a cold breath passed to his fingers. He squatted down and hugged his knees. He didn't know how to answer. He desperately tried to find the words to say. No, Grandpa has nothing to apologize for. But nearly 40 years have smoothed out the ups and downs of his emotions, but facing Scorpion's disappointed eyes, Hai Laozong still felt a little pain in his heart. But he also understood that this time there was no other way. Hai Laozong squatted down and patted Scorpion's shoulder. Be strong. When the task is over, second grandpa will immediately come back. Scorpion desperately suppressed his sobs, and suddenly shook off the hand on his shoulder and said in a stiff tone, I know. When he said this sentence, he could almost feel his grandpa's surprised expression. But even so, he still couldn't control his emotions. It's enough. He gritted his teeth and said, It's enough. When Scorpion repeated it again, tears fell down uncontrollably. Why did it always become like this? Is the task so important? After more than 10 seconds of silence, Hai Laozong squeezed out 3 words. I'm sorry. The sea buckthorn tree rustled under the breeze, but the red-haired boy was not in the mood to appreciate it. When the words left his mouth, he already regretted it, but he was still young, so he stubbornly chose not to apologize. And Hai Laozong had already left to gather the ninjas. Scorpion couldn't calm down for a long time, and once again took out the puppet toy his mother gave him for his birthday, and assembled it. When you can assemble it successfully, we will come back from the battlefield. This was what his mother told him before she left. And then he only spent a day and a night to succeed. But there was still no sign of his parents at the village entrance. After that, every time he succeeded, he would go to the village entrance to take a look. Until now, the purple paint on the puppet had almost dissipated, but his parents still hadn't come back. Now, even Hai Laozong's grandpa had to leave him to go to the battlefield again. I will become the fourth generation of Kazekage, so that my parents will never have to go to the battlefield again. This was Scorpion's wish, but now he had begun to hate the Kazekage. The young Scorpion's view of right and wrong was simple and straightforward. The 3 generations of Kazekage gave the order to join the war. If it wasn't for him, his family wouldn't have to go to the battlefield. As the strongest ninja in the village, if he couldn't protect the villagers and keep them away from the war, then what's the meaning of the 3 generations of Kazekage's existence? Scorpion, who had assembled the puppet again, carefully wiped the sand on it. That serious expression, as if the puppet in his hand was the most important thing in the world. Chapter 245. The Sand Village is crazy, or Chiyo is crazy. The former was the conclusion of the Woodleaf Command, and the latter was the conclusion of the 3 generations of Kazekage. I'm so stupid, really. Chiyo raised her listless eyes and continued. I knew that Shikaku was strong, but I didn't expect that Woodleaf White Fang would also appear there. When Tanya and Jin left this morning, they told me that they would be back soon, and I will wait for them on the battlefield. She just whimpered and couldn't say anything. Old Hai, who was hiding at the side, silently looked at his sister. Speaking of which, Chiyo's life is really miserable. She lost her husband in her early years, her son in her middle years, and her grandson in her old age. On the road to the king of tragedy, it can be said that she is the best, and if she doesn't come out, no one can compete with her. The death of Tong Yi and Silver was a huge blow to her. She, who was not even 40 years old, seemed to have aged 20 years overnight. Sister, what should we do next? Fight Woodleaf Command at all costs. Chiyo's answer didn't surprise Old Hai. And the fact is, why did the Woodleaf Command think that the Sand Village is crazy? Because the Sand Village is attacking Woodleaf Command at all costs, and it seems that they are going to fight to the death. With the entire village's strength, especially when the Sand Village itself has the advantage, Konoha's station can barely hold on. Even if it's in a defensive position, it was almost broken through several times. Both sides were really angry, and the number of casualties during this period was almost the same as the number of casualties in the past 6 months. Even this large-scale battle with high casualties was called the Akihabara meat grinder by later generations. At the same time, it was also the most destructive and the longest battle in the Second Shinobi World War. Throughout the history of Shinobi, the Battle of Akihabara was one of the few battles where the Sand Village suppressed Woodleaf Command. It sounded very impressive, but it also brought a serious consequence. The last time Orochimaru did this, there was no problem. After all, he was one of the frontline commanders, and there were no restrictions from above. Even the third Naruto, who was far away in the village, could only write a letter to stop him after the situation stabilized. However, Chiyo was different. Although she had great influence, the Kazekage was in charge of the headquarters. She couldn't be as crazy as Orochimaru. Rich. Sorry, I really can't do whatever I want. Moreover, it's not like you're the only one who lost your son. To become a ninja, who doesn't have a few relatives and friends who died? In this day and age, if you don't have a blood feud, you wouldn't dare call yourself a ninja. Do you think you're Uchiha? Do you think you're an Uchiha? Therefore, although Ebizo was not surprised by Chiyo's answer, his face was still full of worry. There were already quite a few complaints in the encampment. The 3 generations of Kazekage would stop this war sooner or later. Chiyo also knew Ebizo's worries, so she said in a deep voice, "Don't worry about the 3 generations of Kazekage. After this Shinobi World War, I will retire." Sister. Chiyo waved her hand, indicating that he didn't need to persuade her anymore. The Sand Village has suffered a great loss. Whether it's for the ninjas in the village or for the daimyo, they need someone to take the blame, and I'm just right. The 3 generations of Kazekage also wants me to retire, and I have already promised him. In exchange, he will fully support me this time. Ebizo was silent for a moment, then nodded. In that case, I will retire with you, sister. It's also good to go fishing and accompany Sasori. At this time, in the temporary hospital of the encampment, Shigeru was lying quietly on the bed. Although his whole body was wrapped in bandages, He was still using his uninjured pinky to flip through the pages in front of him. Seeing the wonderful part, Shigeru made a strange laugh, but it also pulled the wound, so he grimaced in pain. Is it that good? Akira Uchiha, who was sitting in front of the bed, asked while cutting an apple. Shigeru sighed and then said, although the writing is still very immature, the content is very attractive, especially the description of the details. Let me tell you, this is the most realistic book I have ever read in so many years. Jiraiya is really a genius. Akira Uchiha rolled his eyes and said, it's obviously a pornographic book. Chun, you are still young, you don't understand these things. Tsukumo closed the book and sternly said, although this book is indeed very explicit, through these details, I can feel the hardships of the heroine Kurong. So, is Jiraiya teaching students or collecting materials in the land of rain? Don't care about these details. Art comes from life and is higher than life. Jiraiya wants to give the readers a realistic experience, so it's understandable that he occasionally makes mistakes, Shigeru said matter-of-factly. Moreover, he wrote this novel just to train his writing skills. After this novel is finished, he will prepare to write a new book. What's it called? Legend of Root Ninja. I think that's the name. Akira Uchiha was also surprised. So writing a pornographic book can also train one's writing skills? He really didn't expect that Jiraiya would have such an experience before writing Legend of Root Ninja. Well, let's not talk about this. Did Tsunade-sensei say when you can be discharged from the hospital? I have to stay in bed for 2 more weeks. Shigeru sighed and said, she also said that if I don't want to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair, I should use this secret technique less. Speaking until here, he glanced at Akira Uchiha. What I didn't expect was that you could escape unscathed from Shikaku. If I had known, I wouldn't have been so anxious. I was just lucky. Tsukumo shook his head and said, you can say that you were lucky this time. This is the 3rd time you've faced Shikaku. When I am discharged from the hospital, let's find a place to have a good fight. He has been lying in bed for almost a month, and he can only rely on pornographic books to survive, so his hands are very itchy, especially his right hand. Okay. Akira Uchiha nodded. Fighting with strong people is the fastest way to progress. By the way, what's the situation now? It's not very optimistic. We can only temporarily block the attack of the Sand Village. Akira Uchiha thought for a moment and continued. And the support of the village will take some time, so Orochimaru-sensei intends to give the bodies of Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law to her in exchange for a truce. Anyway, the information in their heads has been investigated by the torture team. Shigeru was silent for a moment. I also respect Tanya and Jin very much, so it's good to let them be buried in the Sand Village. It's just, will the 3 generations of Kazekage agree? They should agree. Akira Uchiha was also a little uncertain. Now the Sand Village also needs time, but the truce is over, and it's estimated that there will be a more fierce battle. After all, just hearing the news of death, Akira Uchiha couldn't imagine how much shock Chiyo would feel if she saw the bodies. It's no exaggeration to say that if Chiyo was a Uchiha, she would be able to open a Mangekyo Sharingan in an instant. By the way, there is one more thing worth paying attention to. Akira Uchiha suddenly said. There is a truce between the rock and the lightning. Shigeru thought for a moment and said. It should be because the Hachibi went berserk and lost too much, and these 2 villages are waiting for us to decide the winner. Akira Uchiha nodded. Orochimaru and Tsunade also said the same thing, but he still felt that something was wrong. Although the battle was fierce, it was still too early to say the winner was decided. And the Raikage is a reckless person. He won't compromise until he gets benefits. No matter how you look at it, it's too quiet. Chapter 246. Late at night, Sandaime Naruto's flying ape Nichiren finished his day's work, and after handing the letter to the Umbu, he sat on the chair in Naruto's office building and let out a long sigh. Although the battlefield in the country of Kawa was led by his 2 apprentices, Shigeru and Kakumo, every day Leaf received information from various channels. It can be said that except for the frontline commanders, No one knew the current situation of the battlefield better than him. It's just that the situation wasn't good. The war in the country of Kawa showed signs of being dragged into a quagmire. With such a high number of casualties, more ninjas were needed to fill the gap. So now a large number of genin have entered the battlefield. There was also a truce between Raijin and Iwagakure. They seemed to be planning to sit on the sidelines. This was not in line with his understanding of the third Reikage. Although the Hachibi went berserk, it didn't hurt Raijin's foundation. At this time, the Reikage shouldn't let Iwagakure recover. Unless the Reikage had other plans? Sandaime Naruto looked at the Naruto rock outside the window and carefully combed, but he still didn't find any omissions. Lu Quan was on the battlefield, so there shouldn't be any big problems for the time being. And Danzo was in charge of the security work in the village, so he was relieved to have such a good friend. It should be because the pressure was too much recently. 3 generations of Kazekage reached out his hand, picked up the pipe on the table, took a big puff, and then sighed. Who would have thought that a mission would bring such a big wave? But this matter can't be blamed on Shigeru. If killing the enemy is wrong, then Wood Leaf should disband as soon as possible. But this incident also reminded him that even Chiyo's son and daughter-in-law were dead. Then who on the battlefield was really safe? He only has one son, Shinsosuke. The problem is that Shinsosuke doesn't even have a boyfriend, let alone a grandson. What if an accident happened in a few years? Then, wouldn't his excellent bloodline end here? Naruto stroked his chin and thought to himself, since my son isn't good enough, why don't I just have another one? That way, she wouldn't have to go to Peepa Lake to do her hair whenever she had nothing to do. After resting for a while, he opened a battle report that had been sent back not long ago and read it under the bright light. Information on Wood Leaf's recent promotion to Jonin. The handwriting was very familiar. It was written by his disciple, Orochimaru. Generally speaking, the front line will decide on the promotion of a Chunin, but if it's a Tokubetsu Jonin or a Jonin, Naruto must personally sign it. Flying Ape Nichiren opened the sealed intelligence book. The thickness of the entire book wasn't thick, only about 10 pages. It seems that there aren't many new Jonin on the battlefield recently. The first page was printed with a very familiar photo. Akira Uchiha rank, Jonin chakra attributes: Wind, Fire, Thunder, Earth, Water Kekkei Genkai Genjutsu. Sharingan 3 Tomo Eyes. Ability, Summoning number of missions: D level 0, C level 4, B level 16, A level 9, S level 6. Looking at the promotion report, Flying Ape Nichiren was silent for a moment. He wasn't surprised that Akira Uchiha became a Jonin. With the merits of the battlefield, he could have been promoted to Jonin long ago. But because he was too young, he suppressed it and only gave him the rank of Tokubetsu Jonin. He was silent because of this child's talent. Generally, a Jonin can master 2 types of chakra, but Akira Uchiha has mastered 5 types at the age of 11. If this is all he can accept, at most, he's just another version of himself, but the upgrade speed of your Sharingan is too damn scary. It's good to have love, but it's too strong, especially for a Uchiha. Maybe one day, if he doesn't pay attention, he will make a big news. What if he opens a Mangekyo? After all, the depth of love is naturally dark. With this thought in mind, the third Hokage turned to the next page. The information here is mainly about the ninjutsu that Akira Uchiha has shown. The first one is the S-Class Lightning Release Ninjutsu he showed in the Land of Rain. Then there are some Chidori series ninjutsu. Then Naruto saw a familiar name, Mutual Explosion Seal. Below it, there was also an improved version of the Mutual Explosive Talisman Array. The scope of his research is really wide. In a few years, it won't be too much to get the title of the #1 Wood Leaf Technician. The third Hokage murmured and looked at the next page. The third page explains some of the various missions that Akira Uchiha has performed. Some of the things that Naruto didn't know were written in it. The purpose was to introduce him to Akira Uchiha's abilities in a comprehensive way. But this also made the content feel a little mysterious. After all, he encountered a bijou 4 times in his debut and survived all of them. As a result, the thin information book was full of Orochimaru bragging about his apprentice. After reading all the information, Flying Ape Nichiren closed his eyes and leaned back on the chair. If it wasn't for the smoke coming out of the pipe in his mouth, One would think that he has fallen asleep. Orochimaru's intention is obvious. He thinks that Akira Uchiha is one of his own, and his talent is only seen once in 100 years, so he deserves to be vigorously cultivated and promoted. Flying Ape Nichiren sighed. He also knows how to cultivate. The other party is the son of his old friend, and his own grand disciple, so he is close to him in all aspects. But there is still the problem. He is a member of the Uchiha clan. For a time, Naruto also fell into deep thought. At this time, in a secret room, another person fell into deep thought. The man has dark skin and a very strong body, but there is a lightning-shaped scar on his chest and a tattoo on his right shoulder. Third Reikage-sama? The Reikage-sama came back to his senses. Well, is there a problem with the amber bottle recently? The middle-aged man with brown skin in front of him smiled and said, "How can there be a problem? The amber bottle is the legendary artifact of the Rakuto Sannin. It has sealed the Hachibi so many times, and there has never been a problem," the man said confidently, and the Reikage-sama nodded. He also knows this, but he just asked casually. It can only be said that since the last time the Hachibi went berserk and caused the death of his cousin Fukai, he was a little nervous. Did you find out? The reason should be that Fukai-sama failed to control the Hachibi. Impossible. The Reikage-sama frowned. In the past, the Hachibi went berserk so many times, but Fukai was injured at most, and the Hachibi's tail was controlled under 6, but this time there are 8. It gives me the feeling that someone directly pulled the Hachibi out of Manchuriki's body. How is that possible? The middle-aged ninja was shocked. Is there really such an existence in the shinobi world, who can sneak into the Cloud Village and pull out the Hachibi? Is there such a thing in the shinobi world? The Reikage-sama didn't know, but he hoped that he was just thinking too much. How is the plan for Manchuriki? The plan is going well. The middle-aged ninja said. Our spies in Woodleaf have already grasped the movements of the Uzumaki ninja. The Reikage-sama nodded and hoped that the plan will succeed. Then they will have the perfect carrier for the Hachibi. After all, Mito Vortex, the first person in the shinobi world Manchuriki, hasn't gone berserk yet. Who would have thought that the Uzumaki clan, which has been extinct for so many years, can suppress the bijou so perfectly? If he had known, he would have left some in advance, and now it wouldn't be so troublesome. Chapter 247. Just as Orochimaru thought, after sending back the corpses of Tanya and Jin, Chio finally agreed to a truce. As for how much time they can buy, it depends on who can recover faster. Akira Uchiha didn't choose to perform any more tasks during this time. After all, Captain Shigeru was still lying on the hospital bed, so he stayed in Orochimaru's underground laboratory and began his otaku life. With so many free scrolls, it's a waste not to read them. For Akira Uchiha's arrival, Orochimaru didn't express any objection. He just told him how to open the door and let him sit alone in the room to study quietly. Orochimaru continued to fiddle with the corpse from the Mist Village, but the experiment has reached a bottleneck. Obviously, a corpse can no longer meet his needs. He needs more shiketsumiyaku. Time passed quickly, in a place hundreds of meters underground. Akira Uchiha didn't know how much time has passed, but Orochimaru took off his bloody gloves on the operating table. It's almost time for dinner. Let's celebrate your promotion to Jonin. Just yesterday, the promotion report signed by Sandaime Naruto finally came back from the village. The two slowly walked up the stairs, and after a while, they came to the ground. Because at night, the temperature of the Gobi Desert also drops, and the drop is very big. Since it's a celebration for his apprentice, it's impossible to do it in the station's cafeteria. Orochimaru, who has a lot of merits, took Akira Uchiha to the corner of the station. After sitting down, Orochimaru handed the menu in his hand to Akira Uchiha. Because of the truce, there are a lot of ninjas left in the station, and the business that was supposed to be poor now seems to be more prosperous than Woodleaf's. However, this prosperity is just an illusion. Now the war between Woodleaf and the Sand Village has reached the most critical stage. In this oppressive atmosphere, everyone can only vent their fear of death. The two ate quickly. Orochimaru seems to want to go back and do the experiment later, so he didn't drink. As for Akira Uchiha, even if he wants to drink, he's not old enough. Go back and rest early in the evening, take advantage of this time to relax. Chio has gone crazy, so the war can start at any time. Orochimaru said lightly. Okay. Akira Uchiha nodded. At this time he suddenly felt something hot on his hand. Something was calling him. Spirit summoning technique. After a puff of smoke, White appeared on the table. What's the matter, what? Both of them stared intently at Dabai. For him to appear at a time like this, there had to be some important information. Sure, White brought a piece of bad news. The first team, who was on a reconnaissance mission, is now in danger. Because there is no captain, Watergate, Rope Tree, and Mikoto were only on the periphery with the other teams, but they were ambushed by the Sand Puppet Masters. Although Watergate and the others desperately escaped, the current situation is still very dangerous. Request for backup. Before going to the battlefield, Akira Uchiha asked each of them to bring a small snake. If there is an unexpected situation and they can't ask for help, they are to tell the small snake and let it go back to inform him. Akira Uchiha was silent for a moment. Then he put down the chopsticks in his hand and stood up. Go. Orochimaru nodded, then said, Go support them, you must bring them back. Orochimaru didn't choose to follow. In his view, now that the team has been handed over to Akira Uchiha, it's only right for him to go rescue them. If Orochimaru also followed, then the Sand Village will inevitably do something radical. In addition, he must also inform Tsunade. After all, Rope Tree is inside. If the same thing happens again, who knows if Tsunade will also go crazy? Then I'll leave it to Orochimaru-sensei. Akira Uchiha nodded. Watergate's location is on the east side of the battlefield. If he goes at his fastest speed, it will take about 40 minutes. But he didn't go at his fastest speed. He still has to leave some of his chakra to deal with the upcoming battle. But in this way, the time spent will probably be delayed to about an hour. Hold on. Rope Tree, as the grandson of the first generation, will easily become the focus of the Sand Village's fire on the battlefield. In the original story, Rope Tree died on the battlefield. He doesn't want this to happen again. Since history has changed, how can the Wheel of Fate move according to the previous track? Watergate, what's the situation outside? Rope Tree, who looked very weak, asked with difficulty while leaning on a big pit made by a ninjutsu. Behind his torn clothes, it could be seen that there were several deep knife wounds on his back. His body was also injured by the explosion of the detonation talisman. And this is a relatively lucky state. After all, the three of them just escaped from the Sand Village's puppeteer. They don't seem to have found us. I just sent a message to Shun, he should be on the way now. At this time, Mikoto was kneeling on the ground, taking out bandages and hemostasis kits from her ninja bag and wrapping Rope Tree. Mikoto, don't waste any more effort. I feel like I'm dying, Rope Tree said with some difficulty. The injuries on his body are not very big. Even if he doesn't bandage them, he won't die in a few hours. But the problem is that the puppeteer controlled by the Sand Village's puppeteer is poisonous. And the poison is eroding his life. Although Tsunade's antidote can suppress most of the poison, Sakura Shinobu is constantly improving it. This kind of suppression won't last long. If there is no accident, he can last at most 2 hours. It's okay. Shun will be here soon. As long as he comes, you will be fine. Mikoto was squatting by Nobuaki's side, comforting her heavily injured friend with a voice that was close to tears. I hope he can come as soon as possible, haha. I don't want to die either. Rope Tree scratched his yellow hair and smiled reluctantly. I didn't expect death to be such a painful thing. Now Rope Tree feels like his body is being hollowed out by the poison. He tightly grasped the pendant around his neck, as if only by doing so can he feel at ease. This pendant was left by his grandfather. He has been coveting it for a long time, but not long ago on his birthday, Tsunade gave it to him. But he didn't expect that he would die before it even warmed up. I am only 11 years old. I don't have a girlfriend yet. Rope Tree thought unwillingly. Sigh. He let out a long sigh and said, Mikoto, if I die, give this pendant to Shun. This is a talisman. It will definitely protect him. Chapter 248. 2 hours was enough for Akira Uchiha to rush to the coordinates of Watergate. When he arrived, Watergate was still on guard at the edge of the pit. The unconscious rope tree was lying at the bottom of the pit, and Mikoto was lying on the other side. Maybe she was too tired and fell asleep. What's the situation? After taking a few breaths, Akira Uchiha asked. After more than an hour of running, not to mention chakra, even his stamina was exhausted. We were attacked by Sakura Shinobu, and were separated from the original team. Rope Tree was injured and poisoned. Now the nearby Sakura Shinobu began to shrink the defense line. We can't break out with our strength. Watergate scratched his blonde hair covered in dust. Well, I see. You should also rest for a few minutes. It's actually very tiring to concentrate on the investigation for a long time, not to mention Watergate's constant surveillance for more than an hour. After Akira Uchiha went to the bottom of the pit, he habitually checked Rope Tree's injuries, and then remembered that he didn't know how to dispel the poison, so he had to stop. As a result, he didn't expect that such a movement would wake up Mikoto, who was sleeping on the side. Mikoto jumped up in an instant like a spring that was squeezed and released. Then, without even looking, a kunai pierced towards him. Mikoto, it's me. His left hand blocked the kunai. Akira Uchiha's right hand pressed on Mikoto's forehead, making her stop the attack. After a few more seconds, Mikoto finally opened her eyes. When she saw the boy in front of her, tears came out. Akira Uchiha stretched out his hand, wiped her tears and said, "It's okay, I'm here." During the break, Akira Uchiha also took the opportunity to study the nearby map. This place is closer to the main battlefield camp. Let's go there first. Watergate, you carry the Rope Tree. Mikoto, you stay by their side and protect them. I will stop Sakura Shinobu and open up a path. Someone will come to your aid once we reach the base. Yes. Uchiha-chan thought about it for a while, but he couldn't find any other loopholes, so he took the lead and jumped out of the pit. Behind him was Minato, who was carrying the Rope Tree, and finally Mikoto. Try your best to keep up with my speed. We'll break out of the encirclement quickly and return to Woodleaf's main battlefield camp in the shortest time possible. According to Watergate, Sakura Shinobu is closing the defense line. There are only 2 results for them to break out of the encirclement. Either they will crash into the Sand Shinobu's team, or they will return to the main battlefield camp unimpeded. The route on the battlefield is so big that even if there are more Sand Shinobi, it's impossible to block all the roads. Moreover, the main battlefield camp is not far from here. Even with their speed, 20 minutes is enough for them to rush back. The reason why Watergate and the others didn't go back is purely because their strength is not enough to deal with Sakura Shinobu on the main battlefield. After all, the enemy they need to deal with is no longer the Sand Shinobi led by Chunin. Coupled with the injured Rope Tree, it's impossible for them to break through the Sand Shinobi's defense line. After Akira Uchiha arrived, Watergate and the others had enough confidence to rush to Woodleaf's camp. As long as they don't encounter an elite Jonin or above, Akira Uchiha is confident that he can protect them safely. Stepping on the stone, Akira Uchiha rushed out at the same time as chakra erupted. He took care of their speed and didn't use his fastest speed, but even so, it was enough for Mikoto and Watergate, who was carrying Rope Tree, to catch up. At such a speed, of course, they couldn't pay attention to the surrounding situation, so they had to rely on Haku for reconnaissance. The 4 of them rushed like this, and halfway through the journey, there were still no traces of Sand Shinobi. At this time, a white signal flare crossed the sky and exploded into a dazzling light in the night sky. Akira Uchiha doesn't remember when Woodleaf used a white signal flare. This kind of signal flare is the standard of Sand Shinobi, and he has seen it on the battlefield at night. The source of the signal flare was on his right side, not far away. However, it would be strange if they didn't attract the attention of Sakura Shinobu's sensor ninja. Although they don't dare to hunt around Woodleaf's camp, they are still very confident in this distance. Pay attention to your own safety. I will try to break through the blockade for you. You run quickly to the camp. Akira Uchiha also took out a red signal flare from his ninja bag and threw it into the sky without hesitation. At this distance, as long as the ninjas in the camp are not sleeping, they can see it. But this may bring about a serious consequence. Woodleaf and the Sand Shinobi will fight again. But at this time they can't care so much. If they continue to hesitate, they will all die here. At this time, in Woodleaf's camp, Tsunade, who just finished the operation, grabbed Orochimaru's collar, causing the surrounding ninjas to look at him. What did you say? Orochimaru also noticed the strange eyes around him, so he pulled his clothes, but found that it didn't move. He could only helplessly say. The first team was ambushed by Sakura Shinobu while they were on a mission. Tsunade's face gradually became ugly. Orochimaru felt that his collar was getting tighter and tighter, so he quickly said, "Don't worry, I have asked Shin to rescue them." After a moment of silence, Tsunade let go of his clothes. "Where are the coordinates? I will go now." "Shin has already gone with his speed. They will be gone by the time you arrive," Tsunade said angrily. "I can't do nothing, he is my brother." "You should go to the main battlefield camp now, they should go there directly." Orochimaru thought for a moment and continued. "But be prepared for battle. If Chiyo knows that it is your brother, she will not let go of this opportunity. She dares." Tsunade didn't continue to talk nonsense. She put on a white coat and walked straight out of the camp. Orochimaru looked at her back and sighed. He knew that since Mito's death, Tsunade has been a little strange. It seems she has begun to fear death. Tsunade also knew this fear in her heart, but she couldn't overcome it. Over the years, her relatives seemed to have been cursed. From her grandfather to her second grandfather, to her parents and grandmother, none of them died a normal death. She didn't know when, but she began to fear, the fear of her relatives dying. She didn't dare to imagine what would happen to her if Rope Tree died. Probably, she wouldn't even be able to be a ninja, right? I know the updates have been slow recently, but I really don't have time. The revision is at a critical juncture after the exam in December. 2 or 3 updates a day is fine, so please forgive me. Chapter 249. Soon after the red signal flare rose into the air, a team wearing Sakura Shinobu's uniform finally arrived. They were very fast and looked very arrogant. The leader of the team was a middle-aged ninja with a strong body, tight muscles supporting the whole vest. He had a buzz cut and deep eyes. 3 jonins. Uchiha-chan glanced at the other party and retracted his gaze. The most important thing now was not to kill the enemy, but to break their defense line and send Watergate and the other 2 out. However, how could Watergate and Mikoto be faster than a jonin? In just a minute, the distance between the 2 sides was reduced to 20 meters. Akira Uchiha could only stop. The Chidori in his right hand bloomed a dazzling light, and rushed to the left side of Sakura Shinobu. Watergate and Mikoto quickly opened a safe distance. If they were too close, it would only affect Akira Uchiha's battle. In such a battle, to put it bluntly, the only thing the 2 of them could do was to wave their kunai and cheer from the side. Under the stimulation of the lightning attribute chakra, Akira Uchiha's speed increased by a notch. He almost pulled out an afterimage and instantly came to the left side of the Sand Shinobu. The Sand Shinobu didn't expect that this kid's speed could be so fast. When he reacted, Chidori had pierced through the air and went straight to his heart. A huge sense of crisis made Sakura Shinobu's body instinctively move to the right side. Woodleaf's Reiko, why is he here? Sakura Shinobu recognized the Woodleaf Shinobu in front of him. For such a famous person, the ninja's handbook will specially mark him. Even if he doesn't know what he looks like, he can recognize him by fighting. The sound of breaking air came again. Akira Uchiha didn't attack his 2 companions as he expected, but in a very short time, he came behind him again. At this time, his 2 companions' puppets just arrived at the place where Akira Uchiha was standing. This time his reaction was not so fast. In a hurry, he could only let the kunai pierce his shoulder, and at the same time he wanted to crush the explosive tag in his hand. But before the explosion sound could be heard, Akira Uchiha's genjutsu was already thrown out. Then blood splattered. Instant death. Hurry up and leave, I'll be here. After dealing with an enemy, Akira Uchiha said to the 2 behind him. Hearing this, Watergate and Mikoto no longer hesitated. They increased their speed again and ran in the direction of Woodleaf's camp. If it weren't for Uchiha-chun, even if Minato and the others made it here, they wouldn't have been able to cross the defensive line at all. The biggest possibility would have been that they would have been chopped to death by the sand ninjas. And then they will be buried with the rope tree. Because of the battle, Sakura Shinobu on the defense line has begun to slowly gather here. And would leave Shinobu in the camp will take 5 or 6 minutes to get here. So after a while, Akira Uchiha moved away and quickly printed with his hands. Earth release, earth wall. A huge earth wall was erected from the ground, and at the same time, Sakura Shinobu, who was worried, reinforced the earth release. Nonsense, the opponent is Wood Leaf's Reiko, a ninjutsu with more than 20 seals in a row. How can it be an ordinary ninjutsu? It's just, after finishing the seals, Akira Uchiha took out 4 smoke bombs and scattered them, then turned around and ran. Running away after showing off, although it's not Akira Uchiha's style, it can't be helped. If he didn't alarm the other Sakura Shinobu, he could kill the 2 Sakura Shinobu puppeteers. But now it's impossible. Who knows if there are other Sakura Shinobu on the way? If they see Watergate and the others on the way, they will kill them in a moment of joy. After so many years of training, it would be a joke if they become Sakura Shinobu's food. So Akira Uchiha, who instantly left the battle, didn't stop and chased in the direction of Watergate, who had already run away. He must catch up with Watergate as soon as possible, so that he can protect them as soon as possible. Otherwise, in such a dangerous battlefield, who knows what they will encounter? Sure enough, as he guessed, even after breaking through the defense line, the number of Sakura Shinobu on the way increased. Because he doesn't have any ninjutsu or skills to hide his whereabouts, since Sakura Shinobu began to target him, then his whereabouts will definitely be discovered by the Sand Shinobu. With a flash of lightning, Akira Uchiha once again killed a Sand Jonin who wanted to attack Watergate and Mikoto. Now he has more than half of his chakra left, and he has a little more than 20% of the scrolls in his hand. Akira Uchiha has enough confidence. As long as he doesn't get besieged by a large army, he will basically be fine. Thinking so, several sharp stone spears suddenly condensed behind him, lined up in a square formation and suddenly shot towards him. At the same time, a space jade appeared. Akira Uchiha jumped high and looked back. Not far behind him stood 2 Sakura Shinobu. They didn't have any puppets on their backs, but were constantly forming hand seals. It seems that they are just ordinary ninjas. In this case, it will be easy. Seeing Akira Uchiha about to land, one of the Sakura Shinobu had a fierce smile on his face. He is proficient in earth release, so he has the absolute advantage on the ground. Earth release needle forest. In the area where Akira Uchiha was about to land, a dense number of stone spears suddenly pierced out. At the same time, the other Sakura Shinobu threw a kunai at the boy in midair. There are no trees around, so it is not easy to use Snake Shadow Hand. Akira Uchiha can only block the kunai, turned his head and looked at the dense number of spears on the ground, suddenly turned around in midair, formed a hand seal with one hand, and suddenly spat out a gust of wind from his mouth, stopping his fall, and stopped above the forest of spears. Then with a twist of his neck, he moved horizontally out of the range of spears. Seeing that Akira Uchiha successfully resolved the attack, Sakura Shinobu jumped down from the trunk and landed heavily like a cannonball, raising a cloud of dust. It seems that at this time, Sakura Shinobu has completely regarded him as the target of attack, and Watergate and Mikoto are simply ignored. Spirit Summoning Technique. After the smoke dissipated, a huge green snake appeared under Akira Uchiha's feet, looking at the enemies with bloodthirsty eyes. Further away, Sakura Shinobu is still rushing over. Since the last time I was injured, this is the first time I feel like my blood is boiling. Let me have some fun again. Go green snake. Loud explosions sounded in the distance. Watergate with the rope tree on his back didn't dare to look back. He could only rush in the direction of Woodleaf's camp. Once again, as a good friend, he can't help at all. I want to become stronger. Watergate and Mikoto, who were silent, were thinking the same thing. Chapter 250. This is the bad thing about being besieged. As long as the other side cooperates well, Akira Uchiha can hardly find a chance to attack. Uchiha Madara is the only one who can kill a Jonin with a single strike. But since Akira Uchiha stayed, he has enough confidence. Although the blue snake is not enough to face a Kage-level ninja, it is more than enough to deal with an ordinary Jonin. The steel-like scales can't be broken by ordinary puppets. The poison that Sakura Shinobu is proud of also lost its effect. Besieging is a joke. With a sweep of the snake's tail, a few meters high boulder was crushed into powder in an instant. Therefore, this is also the reason why Orochimaru chose to put a few Sumeru snakes in the village when he invaded Konoha. Ordinary ninja can't do anything to them. As the blue snake raged, Akira Uchiha, who recovered a little bit of chakra, also jumped down from the snake's head. Whoosh! After landing, the kunai in his hand flashed like thunder, and it was extremely fast. Without any reservation, he cut the neck of a Sakura Shinobu. However, Sakura Shinobu, who was aware of it, quickly raised his katana with one hand and accurately blocked the kunai. Taijutsu-type ninja? When he noticed the strength of the kunai, Akira Uchiha thought in his mind. So he decisively withdrew the kunai, but Sakura Shinobu's katana caught up with him. He didn't want to attack the vital points. He just wanted to force Akira Uchiha to stay in place. In the next second, he suddenly jumped up, and his chest bulged like a drum. On the other side of Akira Uchiha, a huge fireball was quickly approaching. Wind release, wind blast. A gust of wind poured out of his mouth and blew the fireball in the air at a faster speed. It was a combination ninjutsu. The wind helped the fire, and after a large amount of wind was injected into the fireball, it suddenly formed a large area of flames. Seeing this, Akira Uchiha's expression changed, and his hands formed a seal, condensing a large amount of earth, forming a semicircular stone shield in front of him. Covered by the cover, he tumbled into the sea of fire, and in the next second, he rushed out of the range of the combination of fireball and big blast technique from the other side. Seeing Akira Uchiha rush out, Sakura Shinobu, who was hiding on the other side, punched his neck without reservation. Akira Uchiha didn't seem to be able to react. He just looked at Sakura Shinobu with slightly confused eyes. Wouch! A stream of blood rose into the air, and a head with a confused expression flew into the air. Finally killed. When the sand ninja was halfway through his words, he saw the head flying in the air turn into a group of crows, and then condensed into Uchiha-chun. Genjutsu. As soon as this thought came to his mind, he stopped abruptly and a kunai pierced his back. The sand slowly lowered his head and stared at the tip of the kunai that penetrated his chest. The sharp kunai cut his heart in half and took away all his strength. His mouth squirmed slightly, and the light in his eyes was gradually eroded by the darkness. He couldn't say anything and fell to the ground. Akira Uchiha rushed to another Sakura Shinobu. A few minutes later, the desert was covered with smoke and the smell of burning. After the smoke dissipated, only one person was left standing on the field. Akira Uchiha was covered with blood, holding a kunai in his hand, and was gasping for breath. On the ground, there were dead Sakura Shinobu everywhere. Now Minato and the others should have already met Konoha's rescue team. After a little rest, Akira Uchiha decided to retreat immediately. He has delayed enough time, and according to Haku's observation, the next wave of enemies will arrive in 30 seconds. Even the third Raikage, a man of steel, could only last 3 days before being beaten to death. Therefore, Uchiha estimated that with his small body, he would be able to last for at least half an hour. It turned out that if he ran at full speed, the group of Sakura Shinobu behind him wouldn't be able to catch up in a short time. As a result, a scene like this appeared on the battlefield. A young boy was running in front, with many fierce sand ninjas following behind him. After running for 2 minutes, Akira Uchiha was able to see the leader of Woodleaf's team, Tsunade, the Woodleaf princess who has begun to be crowned as the first female ninja in the world. Tsunade, who seemed calm, was filled with anger at this time. She knew that if she was late, her brother would have died from the poison of the sand village. At this time she was running at full speed, pulling a large distance behind Woodleaf's team. Akira Uchiha and Tsunade looked at each other, and understood the meaning in each other's eyes. Akira Uchiha kept running towards Woodleaf's camp. The fierce battle just now has consumed a lot of chakra. At this time staying on the battlefield can't help much. As for the purpose of his trip, which is to rescue Watergate, has been completed. After seeing Tsunade, the Sakura shinobu who were rushing forward couldn't help but stop. What the hell? What's the situation? How did this happen? The sand ninjas present couldn't help but think of such a sentence in their heads. Some time ago, the scene of Tsunade and Orochimaru provoking each other in front of the Sand Village's camp is still fresh in everyone's memory. At that time, Tsunade was like an undying cockroach. Any injury can be healed in an instant. This kind of monster, even Elder Chio is not a match for. How can they fight against it? Therefore, the Sakura shinobu who were chasing began to slowly retreat. But Tsunade didn't care so much. She was angry and rushed forward alone. Not far behind her, there were also Wood Leaf's ninjas who came to support. Akira Uchiha, who left the battlefield, continued to walk for a while and finally saw Wood Leaf's camp. After registering with the ninja guarding the gate, he hurriedly walked through the gate of the camp and walked in the direction of the medical area. As a result, he almost bumped into Kato who was coming out of the tent. "Hey Chin, why are you here?" Kato, who was a little tired, asked with two big dark circles under his eyes. "I'm here to see the rope tree." "Senpai, what about you?" "I'm also here to see the rope tree. I just heard that he was injured on the battlefield, so I rushed to see him," Kato said with a warm smile. Akira Uchiha raised his eyebrows and said, "How is it now?" "The medical ninja is already performing the surgery, but it shouldn't be a big problem, otherwise Tsunade will stay." Akira Uchiha nodded. "Well, I'm going to sleep. I've been doing missions all day, I'm sleepy." After saying a few words to Akira Uchiha, Kato slowly walked away. Looking at Kuroto's lonely back, Chin couldn't help but sigh. Kuroto's crooked footsteps seemed to be saying, "Don't be a bootlicker." He suddenly found that he can add another sentence to the jingle. "Nothing Kato." Chapter 251. As the grandson of the first Naruto and Mito Vortex, although Rope Tree didn't inherit any Kekkei Genkai, his recovery ability was first class. When Akira Uchiha arrived at the hospital, he was completely out of danger, but because he was anesthetized, he didn't wake up yet. After letting Watergate and Mikoto go back to rest, Akira Uchiha also ran to find a medical ninja. After all, he also suffered a minor injury. As a result, the next morning, after sleeping in the hospital bed for a night, he was informed by an umbu that he needed to go to the commander's place. Well, it was Orochimaru and Tsunade's place. "Tsunade-sensei, are you looking for me?" Akira Uchiha stepped into the central tent of the camp and saw Tsunade sitting on the main seat, then Orochimaru sitting on the side. Orochimaru was fine, but Tsunade seemed to have just returned from the battlefield. The blood on his body hadn't dried up, and the cold murderous aura didn't fade, but his face was a little pale. "You sit down first." Tsunade didn't make any extra movements and still looked at the scroll in his hand. "What's the matter?" Sitting down next to Orochimaru, Akira Uchiha opened his mouth and asked silently. Orochimaru carefully glanced at Tsunade, then shook his head slightly and said, "There are always a few days every month, don't be afraid." Although that's what he said, Akira Uchiha didn't know why Orochimaru was a little lacking in confidence. "Since there's no need to be afraid, why don't you say it out loud?" After a while, Tsunade, who was holding the scroll, held his forehead with his hand and seemed a little tired. "Are you okay?" Orochimaru leaned forward and asked. "I'm fine." Releasing so much chakra from the Yin seal at once. "Even for you. Your meridians must be under a lot of pressure." Orochimaru shook his head and said, "Go and rest, I'll take care of things here." "Yes, I know." Tsunade nodded, but his body didn't move. It seemed that the rope tree's injury had affected her greatly. Orochimaru did not continue to persuade him. Although the level of his verbal evasion technique was not low, it mainly focused on child trafficking. At other times, he could only observe from the sidelines and make his presence known. After all, not everyone could be like Naruto, who had a 360-degree AoE without any blind spots. Last night's casualty report has been tabulated. We lost 58 Chunin and above, including Chunin, 43 Chunin, 9 tokubetsu jonin and 6 jonin. 58 and 4396 were really two wonderful numbers. It could only be said that there were 7 meanings in the unseen world. Tsunade didn't notice Akira Uchiha's strange expression and continued. The loss is a bit big, according to the calculation. If we had a small-scale battle with Sakura Shinobu, the loss would not be more than half of this time. But Sakura Shinobu's loss is far more than that, Orochimaru said. Yes, according to the corpses on the battlefield that were not recovered in time, Sakura Shinobu lost more than 70 ninjas this time. Among them, 40 chunin died, and at least 30 jonin, and tokubetsu jonin died. The specific data is not available because some important corpses were recovered by the enemy. We can only make a simple judgment from the number of corpses left on the scene. The number of Sakura Shinobu, who died in the hands of Wood Leaf Rescue Team, is 60. This is what we counted after the battle. As for the rest, we also checked Shin's battle area and found a total of 10 corpses. 10 corpses. Orochimaru wasn't too surprised by Shin's battle results. After all, he had seen more shocking things. Yes. Akira Uchiha also nodded. Tsunade didn't call him over to discuss the battle. The rest should be to confirm his battle results. This was also for the distribution of merit points or pensions after the end of the battle. What's the specific level? 1 elite jonin, 7 normal jonin, and 2 tokubetsu jonin. After a while, Tsunade sealed a piece of white paper full of writing in her hand into a scroll, and then threw it into the mouth of Slug, who was waiting next to her. Well, the specific merits will be recorded on your ninja list. If there are any urgent missions, I will send someone to inform you. Tsunade waved his hand and lowered his head to check the new battle report. Akira Uchiha nodded, then stood up and prepared to leave. Shin, thank you for saving Rope Tree. Just as he opened the tent and was about to walk out, these words came from behind. Akira Uchiha smiled, opened the tent and continued to walk out. The weather outside was good. A breeze blew, and the leaves of the flowers and plants rustled, bringing with it a cool breeze. Rope Tree should have woken up. With this thought in mind, Akira Uchiha walked to the camp's medical area. The conditions of the main battlefield camp were much worse than the commander's station. However, it was the front line after all, so it was normal for it to be more difficult. When he walked to the entrance of the tent, Rope Tree's voice came from inside. It hurts. Don't use so much force, be gentle. Something's wrong. He decided to listen carefully before going in. Watergate, use your hand. Help me rub it. What the F***ck, he seemed to have heard something he shouldn't have. Akira Uchiha quickly opened the tent and walked in. But there was nothing he expected. Rope Tree was half lying on the bed, and Watergate was changing his bandages. Because the Sand Ninja's slow poison spread throughout his body, the medical ninja filtered Rope Tree's blood, and now he didn't even have the strength to get out of bed. If Watergate didn't come now, then this task must have fallen on Akira Uchiha. Shin, you're back. Well, you can continue. Watergate nodded, then asked in confusion. Why is your face so red? It's nothing, the weather outside is a little hot. Akira Uchiha smiled awkwardly, then walked to Rope Tree's bed and sat down. Rope Tree, how is your injury? It's okay. The medical ninja said that I should be able to get out of bed in a few days. Thank you for yesterday. Don't mention it. We don't need to talk about it. What are you doing? Seeing Rope Tree take off the death pendant from his neck, cold sweat flowed down from Akira Uchiha's forehead. He heard from Mikoto that Rope Tree's last words. Are you kidding me? This pendant is not something an ordinary person can bear. In the manga, he was a short-lived ghost. If he wore this pendant, he might not even have a chance to be born. This is a real life with 2 lives. Why are you so nervous? I won't give it to you if I'm not dead. Rope Tree wiped the pendant seriously and said, I told you that this pendant is a talisman, but you didn't believe me. I'm not dead. Are you sure it's not a reverse Q? Don't look at me like that. I'm telling you, this pendant is worth a lot of money. Rope Tree was dissatisfied. Come on, it's only 30 years old, it's not a cultural relic. How much money can it be worth? After my grandfather died. Rope Tree glanced at the entrance of the tent and said in a low voice, "There was a mysterious businessman who spent 300 million ryo to buy this pendant from my grandmother." Akira Uchiha thought about it carefully. With his current strength, it may take a lifetime of missions to save so much money. Suddenly, he looked at the pendant with eager eyes. Watergate, who had finished bandaging, asked, "Is there such a rich businessman in the ninja world?" "Yes, some big families from the Warring States period have such financial resources." Rope Tree thought for a moment and continued, "I asked my grandmother, but she just said she didn't know." "How can you not know?" "I think so I guess it may be a love rival. After all, my grandfather was the god of shinobi. There must be a lot of people who liked him." Rope Tree seemed to see through everything, showing honeyed confidence. Willing to spend so much money to buy a useless pendant, no doubt true love. No doubt true love. Watergate also echoed. Chapter 252. Uncle, I'm leaving. After wiping the shelf, Nanoyu hung her apron on the shelf and said, "Wait a minute." Dai, who was checking the equipment, stopped and took out a stack of money from his pocket. "Here, this is your salary for this month." "Why so much?" Nanoyu hesitated and did not reach out to take it. After working in Woodleaf for almost a year, she was very clear about the prices here. She came every day after school to wipe the shelves and sell some things. This salary was too much. "I'm giving it to you, so just take it." Dai smiled and stuffed the money into Nanoyu's hand. The war in the country of River is getting more and more intense. Recently, the business of the weapon shop is very good, so I'm giving you a higher salary. Don't feel embarrassed. It's hard for you to do so much work every day. Dai looked high-spirited, completely different from the decadence of a few months ago. Although he did not know how to do business before because of the exercise, he dealt with all kinds of equipment all year round. After a few months, the business of the weapon shop was getting better and better. "Hee, thank you, uncle." Nanoyu stuck out her tongue and carefully put the money in her pocket. "Then I'm leaving? Go." But before Nanoyu went out, Dai suddenly patted his head, as if he remembered something, turned and walked into the counter. "I almost forgot about this thing." He handed a set of packaged clothes to Nanoyu and said, "This is the latest style I bought for you. Not only is the material soft and well ventilated, but it also has a strong stretchability. You don't have to worry about not having enough clothes to wear when you exercise in the future." Looking at his shiny teeth and thick black eyebrows, Nanoyu trembled and took the green tights. Imagining the scene of her wearing this to school, she could not help but shudder. Uncle Dai was good in every way, but this habit was unbearable. Giving tights at a discount, wasn't this deliberately driving customers away? After walking out of the store, Nanoyu silently thought about how to deal with this set of clothes, and at the same time, walked toward the Thousand Hands clan. She had an appointment with Shinakushina to eat barbecue tonight. After crossing a few blocks, the flow of people gradually decreased. During the war, there weren't many people in Woodleaf, and the Thousand Hand race was even more desolate. Not here yet. Carrying the clothes, Nanoyu stood at the door and waited for a while. Bang bang bang. "Shinakushina, are you there?" After knocking on the door, and finding that no one answered, Nanoyu jumped and flipped into the courtyard. When she arrived at Shinakushina's house, the door was already open, but there was no one inside. "Shinakushina, where are you?" Nanayu suddenly panicked and shouted loudly. She usually came to Shinakushina at this time. If there was something special, Shinakushina would tell her in advance. If one day you discover that Shinakushina is missing, use the psychic snake to contact me and inform Naruto Sandame. Nanoyu suddenly remembered what Shun said before he left. Thus, in a panic, she quickly ran to the bottom of the big tree in the courtyard and pushed aside a stone on top. "Shinakushina is missing, go and inform Shun," she said to the small black striped snake sleeping under the stone. The black snake hissed and turned into a puff of smoke before disappearing into the air. And Sandame Naruto. She didn't care about the clothes in her hand and hurriedly ran toward the Naruto building. Sitting in the office, Sandame Naruto took a deep breath of his pipe and revealed a worried expression. Due to the pressure of the war, the ninja school had begun to shorten the 6-year curriculum to 3 years. This method of promoting a large number of genin was tantamount to killing the goose that laid the golden eggs, but there was no other way. After all, the war had lasted for 3 years. Just as he was flipping through the documents, he heard a commotion outside. What's going on? After a while, a chunin wearing a light green vest walked in and said, a student of the ninja school tried to break into the Naruto building, but the guards have been stopped. Sandaime Naruto's face twitched a little. If the students of the ninja school had the strength to break into the Naruto building, then Woodleaf wouldn't need to fight the ninja war, they would directly sweep the 5 major countries. This group of guards, they want to make a big news out of nothing. Did she say the reason? It seems that one of her friends is missing. Then let her go to the Woodleaf guards. I also said that, but she didn't want to do it and insisted to see you. Chunin looked hesitant. What's wrong? She said that the missing person is your illegitimate daughter. Cough, cough, cough. The third Hokage almost choked on the smoke in his mouth. Nonsense. He was about to scold them, but suddenly he remembered a rumor. A few years ago, someone in the ninja school inexplicably spread the rumor that Shinakushina was his illegitimate daughter, and it caused him to be beaten by Lake Biwako. Sandaime Naruto's face changed and he quickly said, bring that person here. Yes. Chunin seemed to understand something. He glanced at Sandaime Naruto with a strange look, then turned around and walked out. After a while, Nanoyu walked into the office alone and said anxiously, Naruto-sama, Shinakushina is missing. I can't find her anywhere. Sandaime Naruto nodded and asked her to sit down. Then he took out a transparent crystal ball from under the table. After using the binoculars, he didn't see Shinakushina's figure inside. In this situation, there are generally only 3 possibilities. First, the user actively blocked this ninjutsu. Secondly, the victim was already dead. Third, the user is not in Woodleaf Village. Shinakushina has no ability to block this ninjutsu, so the most likely possibility is that she has been kidnapped. But the question is, how is this possible? Danzo's route is in charge of the security forces, plus the Umbu protecting Shinakushina and Woodleaf Village's barrier. Who has the ability to kidnap her? Are Danzo and the Umbu useless? Someone. Naruto-sama. An Umbu wearing a fox mask knelt on the ground. 3 things. First, immediately lock down Woodleaf Village's gate. Second, find the Umbu protecting Shinakushina. Third, notify the acting captain of the security forces, Shimura Danzo, and tell him to run to me. After listening to the order, the Umbu didn't leave, he just looked up at Sandaime Naruto. What's wrong? Elder Danzo, he went to the daimyo mansion this morning. Bang. The corner of the table in front of him was broken by Sandaime Naruto. Good, very good. He doesn't have to come back. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Sandaime Naruto said coldly, inform Hyuga Akira, Inuzuka, and Aburame to come to see me. Yes. Chapter 253. When Shinakushina woke up again, she found that she was being carried on the shoulder of a ninja, jumping into the forest of the fire country. The other party was obviously maintaining a high speed, and the constant bumps were the biggest reason why she woke up so quickly. Secondly, it should be her special body as an Uzumaki, and Manchiriki's super fast recovery ability. Shinakushina struggled a bit, and found that her chakra had been sealed, and her body was tied up with a rope. In this situation, even if she was thick-skinned, she knew that she had been kidnapped. Woo-woo, I don't want to die. Shinakushina swore that she would never read manga again. At that time, she was addicted, and before she could react, she was knocked unconscious. Then she didn't know anything, and when she woke up again, she was already in this situation. She had to find a way to leave some clues, otherwise she might really be kidnapped. But her chakra was sealed, so she didn't have a chance to release her ninjutsu. What to do? What to do? The little fox's brain turned very quickly, and she quickly thought of a way. While the ninja who caught her wasn't paying attention, Shinakushina secretly pulled out a long red hair and threw it down. Woodleaf's ninjas were very sensitive to smell, and this was the best way to leave clues after being captured. as mentioned in the ninja school textbooks. Coupled with their fast speed, Kushina didn't have to worry about them noticing her little movements. Ha 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 ha, I'm dying of laughter. A hateful voice sounded in Kushina's ear. It's thousands of miles from here to the lightning country, and when you get there, your hair will be pulled out. Kyubi leaned on the cage and laughed loudly. What are you talking about? Smelly fox. Kushina angrily put her hands on her waist in the space of consciousness, and said, I will be rescued soon, very soon. When you get to the lightning country, it won't be up to you, ha 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 ha. Kushina was like an angry cat, and said, Lightning country, how do you know it's going to the lightning country? Kyubi grinned and said, when you were unconscious, I was listening to their conversation, and they said they would take you back to the Cloud Village. Kushina grabbed the cage and said, I don't want to go to the Cloud Village, I want to go back to Woodleaf. Stop screaming. Even if you scream until your throat breaks, no one will come to save you. Just give up on it. Ninetails continued to add insult to injury. Big Fox, you must have a way. Didn't you can control my body before? Can you do it again? Kushina seemed to be grasping at straws. No, I've been in Leaf for a long time. Kyubi picked his ears with his claws and said, now there's a chance to go out. Why would I go back? It's good to go to the Cloud Village. I can go and see the bull demon. What should I do? I want to change to a more reliable tailed beast. At this time in the Cloud Village, a middle-aged ninja with dark skin, a very strong body, a lightning-shaped scar on his chest, and a tattoo on his right shoulder, looked at the boy in front of him with his hands on his chest. No. The lightning chakra mode is to concentrate the lightning chakra in the whole body, thus activating the body. What about the form of your lightning chakra mode? Do it again. Yes. The boy nodded vigorously and condensed chakra again. As the father of the third Reikage, he didn't have much time to guide him, so he cherished every time. After several rounds of chakra was completely exhausted, the middle-aged man stopped. At this time, the boy was already exhausted and couldn't stand up. He took the water handed by his father, took a sip, and then sat on the ground to recover chakra. What happened? The boy asked with concern. From the beginning, his father was a little absent-minded. This kind of scene is not common. As the strongest person in the village, he rarely showed this kind of expression. It's nothing. You know, the Manchuriki plan has been launched. I'm a little worried. The third Reikage thought for a moment and said, this is the top secret of the village, and it can't be said to outsiders, but this is his son, and if there is no accident, he will be the fourth Reikage, so there is nothing that can't be said. And he also wants to let his son know more about this. As a man who can fight the Hachibi, the third Reikage is of course very confident in his strength, but so what, he is indeed strong, but the second Reikage is also strong, and he was killed by a sneak attack. Therefore for him it is important to train the next Reikage in advance. He doesn't want his son to be just a reckless man, but he needs to be smart. What, is the plan not going well? The boy asked doubtfully. There is no absolute certainty in this kind of thing. The third Reikage said in a deep voice. This kind of sneaking into other countries to kidnap ninjas is very risky, but he is not worried about the plan not going well, but the plan is going too well. The whole plan is very simple, that is, the spy hidden in Woodleaf kidnapped the next Kyubi Manchuriki. Then there is a problem. How difficult is it to kidnap a protected ninja from the strongest Konoha? The answer is very simple, very easy, as easy as going to the market and going home. So no one will believe that there is no problem. The Cloud Village just lost the Hachibi Manchuriki, and immediately news came out that an Uzumaki ninja appeared in Woodleaf. When this news came out, who wouldn't be tempted? After Mito Vortex became the first Manchuriki, other villages followed. But the effect is obvious. Not to mention other villages, how many incidents of the Hachibi have happened in Light Cloud Village? On the other hand, this kind of thing has never happened in Woodleaf. The Uzumaki clan has a natural suppression of tailed beasts, so the third Reikage is extremely tempted to take the next Manchuriki as Woodleaf's successor. However, although he was tempted, he was still aware of his own limits. Determine the location of the other party. Then pack them up and take them away without disturbing Woodleaf's ninja. This kind of perfect action, even in the novel, but things happen so strangely. So there is another problem. Is this Naruto's plan? The third Raikage immediately denied this idea. Why? Because the benefits are not big enough. Once this matter is leaked, Woodleaf will at most get the opportunity to declare war on the Cloud Village. But now Woodleaf is fighting with the sand in the country of Kawanoku. Unless the third Naruto is a traitor, he will find an excuse to declare war on the Cloud Village. So this can't be Naruto's idea. Since the cause of the external war doesn't match, then it can only be an internal reason. You know, now the security work of Woodleaf is led by the famous Woodleaf's root. Does the Cloud Village have the ability to deal with the Umbu without disturbing Woodleaf's root? This is completely impossible. So this time, it should be Danzo of the Eagle faction's doing, and he will use this to attack the third Naruto. But Danzo can't give up the future of his village, Manchuriki. So the third Raikage can conclude that on the road to the Land of Lightning, there are a lot of root ninjas waiting for the Cloud ninjas. But so what? It's still the same sentence. A reckless man is not terrible, but a reckless man with wisdom is the most terrible. The third Raikage looked at the clouds in the sky and thought, since you want to use me, then be prepared to be bitten by me. Chapter 254. After listening to the Raikage's words, the boy looked at the canyon in front of him in silence. The Cloud Canyon got its name because it was accompanied by thunder all year round. This kind of thunder exists in a region. If you are accidentally hit, you will be paralyzed for a long time, which is very dangerous, so generally few ninjas come here. But he didn't know why. He just liked this place, and he usually chose to train here. The boy thought that it was related to his personality. He preferred to be straightforward. Simple and crude was the best. So he finally couldn't help but ask, Father, the Hachibi is the most important thing in our village. Letting an outsider become the Manchuriki, are you okay? Inexplicably, he was very repulsed by this Uzumaki kid. He didn't know why, but this thought lingered in the boy's mind. If he becomes the Hachibi Manchuriki, then he will lose his most important partner. The Raikage patted the boy's head and said, Child, you have to understand that the reason why the bijou is valuable is because of its unparalleled destructive power. Once it appears on the battlefield, it can change the situation in an instant. But if the bijou can't be controlled, then all of this is just a bubble. And at the same time, there will be a situation where it will continue to destroy the village. Do you want this to happen? The boy was speechless. Yes, this time the bijou went berserk, and so many ninjas died. My cousin Fukei, the Hachibi's Jinchuriki, also died, so who will die next? The Raikage continued. The Uzumaki kid may not be safe, but we can't do anything about it. There are no other Uzumaki ninjas in this ninja world. And, he said with some excitement, although she is not safe, her son is safe. Son. Yes. As long as there is an Uzumaki ninja, I believe that in a few generations, our Cloud Village will have a new clan, the Uzumaki clan. The Raikage stood up excitedly. In fact, even if there was no Hachibi incident, he must bring the boy back. That's the Uzumaki clan, and it may even be the only Uzumaki ninja left in the entire ninja world except for Mito Vortex. Needless to say, as long as he is trained properly, the Nibi and the Hachibi Manchuriki will be complete in the future, and the safety of the village will be guaranteed. In fact, compared to the Uzumaki clan, the Raikage wanted to get the Hyuga. The Byakugan may not be as powerful as the Sharingan, but in terms of strategic significance, why is Konoha always in an invincible position? Geniuses were one thing, but more importantly, they were supported by these families. But due to the system of Hyuga main family and branch family, this idea of the Raikage was not realized. Therefore he couldn't help but sigh. It would be great if he could capture the princess of the Hyuga clan as well. Although this kind of thing will affect the reputation of the village, the Raikage can't do anything about it. After all, there are so few Kekii Genkai in the Cloud Village. Even if there is an occasional Kekii geniuses, it can't be passed down in a stable way. On the other hand, Woodleaf and the Mist Village, most of the Kekii geniuses in the ninja world are concentrated in these two villages. It is difficult for others to get one, but these two villages like to destroy Akekiai geniuses for fun, and they are all family units. Therefore, from a certain point of view, the Cloud Village is the kind of key unit dedicated to the protection of cultural heritage, and the Raikage is the head of the unit. Looking at his father's shining eyes, the boy curled his lips helplessly. He didn't agree with the idea that a few generations can create a family. Samu hasn't married yet. Why, isn't it because she is ugly? Who likes such white skin? These days, if you are not rich and beautiful, you can't find a boyfriend in the Cloud Village. Samu's mother, is the beautiful woman with white skin and short yellow hair who has a hot body, no less than Tsunade. More importantly, the Hachibi Manchuriki is going to inherit the name of Bai, and the boy doesn't want his Bai to be a female ninja from outside the village. Father, what if the mission fails? Fail. The Raikage shook his head and said, if you fail, you can only choose one from the new generation of ninjas. The Raikage said it very casually, but the third Naruto in Woodleaf was not so leisurely. He stood at the window and looked at the Naruto rock outside. Even if the sun shines, he felt a little cold. Losing the most important strategic weapon, it is no exaggeration to say that as long as he doesn't get it back in the end, he will not be far from resignation. What? The security of Woodleaf is done by Danzo? But don't forget, the ones who protect Shinakushina are Umbu, and the ninjas of Root were kicked back by the third Naruto. In other words, protecting Kyuubi Manchuriki is not within the scope of Root's management. Danzo may be responsible, but he is also responsible for letting the spy go. If he doesn't get it back in the end, the main responsibility is on the third Naruto himself. Nichiren, you will regret it. In the future, if Kyuubi Manchuriki's safety is in danger, you will take full responsibility for what you said today. He suddenly remembered what Danzo said in front of Mito Vortex's tomb a few years ago. He didn't expect it to come true now. Naruto-sama, the search team sent news. Read it. For Umbu corpses were found outside the Konoha forest. From the direction of the investigation, the other party should be heading towards the land of water. The mist. The third Naruto was a little uncertain. The mist didn't intend to participate in this war, so why would they suddenly jump out and provoke Woodleaf? Also, since the other party kidnapped Shinakushina, why would they leave such obvious traces? So, was it the other villages who deliberately framed the mist, or was it the mist who did the opposite? The third Naruto had a headache. The land of fire is too big, and with the current number of ninjas in Woodleaf, it's impossible to chase them all over the country. They must determine a direction. Is there any other information? The ninja hesitated and continued. A large number of traces of Root ninjas were found in the direction of the Land of Lightning. The third Naruto was startled. If this is really done by Danzo, then the appearance of Root ninjas in the Land of Lightning is intriguing. Could it be the Cloud? Cloud Village has just lost its Hachibi Jinchuriki, and is in urgent need of a new one. Moreover, the third Raikage suddenly stopped fighting with the Rock Village. It seems that he is preparing for war with Konoha, which is more likely than the mist. But then again, this speculation is also based on the fact that Cloud doesn't know about Mito Vortex's death. As long as the news that Shinakushina is the new Manchuriki is leaked, then any village is possible. So, is it the mist, the rock, or the cloud? The third Naruto thought for a while and finally ordered. First, let Hyuga Akira take scouts and search in the direction of the Land of Mist. Second, notify the headquarters of the Land of River, and let them send some ninjas to search in the direction of the Land of Earth. As for the direction of the Land of Lightning, why not leave it to Root? If Danzo can really bring back Shinakushina, the third Naruto will accept it. Chapter 255. In the long stretch of forest, a huge black dog was running at high speed. Akira Uchiha was sitting on top of it, holding a map in his hand to determine the current location. The surrounding forest was deep and vast. On the left was the border of the grass country. As for the darkness on the right, it was the direction of Woodleaf. In fact, before Naruto issued the order, Akira Uchiha had already applied for a rescue mission. He didn't know who kidnapped Shinakushina, but from the information from the snakes outside the Woodleaf forest, The direction of the other party is undoubtedly the grass country. Compared to the wood-leaf hidden village, the grass country is closer to the river country, which is why he applied for a rescue mission from Tsunade. But here's the problem. It's impossible for him to put a lot of snakes from the wood-leaf forest to the border of the fire country. Only the outskirts of the village have his eyes. So now he only knows a direction, but the area here is too large. It's impossible to thoroughly comb through it without sending a team of ninjas. But now the battlefield is fierce with the Sand Village. Where can he squeeze out a dozen ninjas to carry out a search operation? Da-da-da, the black ninja dog was running fast, making a clattering sound, which was particularly abrupt in the empty mountain range. The temperature seemed to have dropped by about a degree, and the surrounding was filled with the smell of water and greenery. Is it going to rain? Akira Uchiha frowned, looking at the thin clouds that seemed to cover the crescent moon. The rain will undoubtedly have a serious impact on Haku's detection ability. Stop. The black dog stopped abruptly, and Uchiha-chan jumped down from the top of the dog. Go back, I can take care of the rest. The black dog wanted to say something, but in the end, it turned into a puff of white smoke and disappeared into the air. This ninja dog was borrowed from Shigeru, and running for a long time consumed a lot of chakra. Considering the possibility of a battle later, it's better to let this delivery dog send him here. As for letting it leave, it's because he can't let others know what he's going to do next. Hiss hiss hiss. After the black dog left, Dabai poked his head out and spat out a sticky scroll. Hurry up and take it. It wrapped itself around Akira Uchiha's neck, and its golden eyes revealed a dangerous glint. What? Do you dislike my saliva? No. No. Akira Uchiha forced a smile. He suddenly understood why Orochimaru never wiped his saliva. It was all forced out. Release. Ha ha ha, I'm finally out. Shikaku's arrogant voice came from the ground. Brat. What did you rub on my body? It's sticky. Haha, it's nothing. Akira Uchiha rubbed his hands awkwardly and said, the haze here is too thick. Don't mind these details. Because of the lack of chakra, Shikaku was only as big as Pikachu. Although he was still as arrogant as before, he looked a lot cuter. Is this wood leaf? How come it's more desolate than the Sand Village? No, this is just the forest of the Land of Fire. I want to ask you to help me find a person. Help you find someone. Shikaku showed a sarcastic smile and said, helping you is not within the scope of my ability. Didn't you say you want to see Kyubi? I asked you to help me find him. Shikaku showed a look of disbelief. What the fuck? That stinky fox also escaped from prison. No, it's staying in Manchuriki's body. I'm just keeping my promise to take you to see it. Shikaku showed a look of disbelief. After a moment of hesitation, the idea of seeing Kyubi prevailed and said, tailed beasts can indeed determine the location of others through special abilities. Well, let me find it. After saying that, it inserted its purple arm into the ground. Well, it's very weak. It's about 30 kilometers away from here in the east. Shikaku deserved to be called a new radar. Its ability to find tailed beasts is much better than those scouting ninjas. Thanks. Akira Uchiha grabbed its body like a crab, put it on his shoulder, and then rushed to the east. Everyone, hold on. We will reach the land of grass in front of us. The ninjas of Woodleaf won't chase us. A middle-aged ninja reminded the three subordinates next to him. After several hours of high-speed running, it's inevitable to relax their vigilance. But now is not the time to relax their vigilance. Captain, why don't we go directly back to the land of lightning? Why do we have to go so far to the land of grass? A ninja in his 20s couldn't help but ask. That person is willing to help us sneak into Woodleaf, but who knows if he has any other purpose? In case he takes people to ambush us on the way to the land of lightning, then wouldn't it be easy for him? The middle-aged ninja said in a deep voice. And our village's troops are now stationed not far from the land of grass. As long as we get there, we will be safe. But before he finished speaking, he suddenly closed his mouth. After the other three ninjas looked at each other, they silently took out their kunai. It seems that before we leave, we have to deal with the little mouse behind us. The middle-aged ninja said with a smile. His tone was full of murderous intent, and he looked very confident. Then he filled the shuriken in his hand with lightning chakra, and threw it at the moment he turned around. At the same time, he made a hand seal. Lightning release shuriken shadow clone jutsu. Lightning chakra has an explosive nature, so no matter how thick the tree is, it can't block this overwhelming lightning chakra shadow clone jutsu. Knowing that he can't hide anymore, Akira Uchiha quickly jumped down from the tree, just in time to avoid this wave of attack. It's only a teenager. The young ninja sneered and said. He really lost his mind. Why dare to stop us alone? Akira Uchiha sighed in his heart. It seems that his reputation is only spread in the land of wind. Sakura Shinobu won't say this kind of nonsense. They will tell you why. Based on speed. Based on strength. Based on tactics. Based on explosive output. And most importantly, based on the opponent's arrogance. Konoha's lightning bolts, fearless heroes. Since the opponent is so fearless, Akira Uchiha directly used his best genjutsu. Because the Sharingan has to look at each other. It's more powerful in a one-on-one fight, but when there are more enemies, it needs to use a group genjutsu to pull everyone in. Genjutsu Sakura Fall. 4 pink cherry blossoms fell from the sky, capturing the 4 people on the opposite side at the same time, making them fall into an illusion. Although the opponent is a jonin, it still takes a few seconds to break Akira Uchiha's genjutsu. A few seconds is a blink of an eye for ordinary people, but for ninjas, it is a difference between heaven and earth. Enough to kill all the enemies. Chapter 256. With the increase of Akira Uchiha's strength, his genjutsu is also getting more and more powerful. In the case of the enemy being unprepared, he instantly controlled 4 of them. It should have been like this. In less than a second, he was already close to the Cloud Ninja carrying Shina Kushina. Snap. One of the cherry blossoms floating in the air suddenly broke like glass. Akira Uchiha remembered that he was detected before he even appeared. It seems that the other party has the ability to perceive. This kind of ninja can fight with the opponent in a state of vision to prevent genjutsu. Sure enough, the next second, the other party didn't even open his eyes, and threw 3 kunai accurately piercing his chest. Akira Uchiha ducked to avoid the kunai. The other party's hand seals were also completed in a very short time, and suddenly the explosion pushed him away. Be careful, this kid is not a simple ninja. Relying on the time he bought, he also helped his subordinates to break the genjutsu and warned them. Suddenly, a cloud ninja appeared behind Akira Uchiha. Go to hell. He shouted, grabbing the kunai with both hands and fiercely stabbing out. However, when the kunai in his hand was still a distance away from Akira Uchiha, a blue lightning passed through his chest. Chidori Sharp Spear. Akira Uchiha pierced the ninja who suddenly appeared behind him, and at the same time, his left hand pressed down on the blue lightning and threw the other party away. You guys aren't ninjas from some small village, are you? How can you be so weak? Chen mocked. When it comes to trash talking, he has never been afraid of anyone. Lightning release. False darkness. The cloud ninja spat out a lightning. Akira Uchiha's figure flashed again, and appeared in front of the ninja, who shot the lightning at him. Earth release bursting fist. The cloud ninja standing on the side immediately printed a hand seal, and a huge rock appeared, like a huge fist, and punched him. Akira Uchiha jumped up, and because of the other party's punch, the ground scattered around. However, before he could give chase, Uchiha-chan, who had just jumped into the air, waved his right hand, and several black snakes flew out and wrapped around Kuroto's neck, injecting the poisonous fangs into Kuroto's blood. The use of venom was naturally learned from Sakura Shinobu. Although the battlefield is dangerous, the growth of a ninja is obvious, especially in the skill of killing. In just a few seconds, Akira Uchiha killed 2 ninjas, which naturally made the pressure on the other 2. So terrible. The cloud ninja looked at the boy who was wantonly harvesting lives and couldn't help but swallow. Captain, what should we do? Retreat, open the distance, use ninjutsu attack. The middle-aged ninja said while throwing a shuriken and a kunai. While delaying Akira Uchiha's action, several kunai tied with explosive tags were shot to the ground. The layer of water in front of Akira Uchiha gradually dissipated, and his hands gradually loosened. I haven't used water release for a long time, but I haven't completely lost it. When the explosive tags exploded, Akira Uchiha used the water curtain concealment jutsu to form a protective water shield in front of him, blocking the light wave of the explosion. But when he looked again, there was only one ninja left. The middle-aged ninja who was called Captain had disappeared with Shinakushina on his back. "Oh, you've been abandoned?" Akira Uchiha flicked the dust on his trench coat and asked with a smile. "I was ready to sacrifice myself for the village." "Is that so? That's a pity." Akira Uchiha shook his head and said, "Your sacrifice is destined to be meaningless. But it doesn't matter, I will send your captain to meet you later. Don't look down on me." The ninja printed with his hands, and the thick earth spears on the ground flew up and suspended in front of him. "Go," he shouted, and 5 thick earth spears shot towards Akira Uchiha. From the power of the earth release ninjutsu, Akira Uchiha's water release defense ninjutsu couldn't resist the penetrating power of the earth spears. So he clenched his right hand and smashed it on the ground, and a boulder flipped over, and then with a flick of his wrist he threw it out. Boom! A huge impact sound was heard, and dust spread between the two. Akira Uchiha's body flashed, and he disappeared and rushed into the shadow of the trees behind the smoke. After 10 seconds, he came out of the shadow of the trees, and at the same time, he was holding the scroll that sealed the enemy's head. Is it really a cloud ninja? At this time in the woods, the cloud ninja carrying Shinakushina stepped on the branches and leaped forward at high speed. His own chakra was consumed a lot, and he was carrying a burden, so it can be said that he can't fight a second time. It seems that he can only hide and wait for the opportunity to escape from the fire country. If he can't, he looked at Shinakushina behind him, and his eyes flashed with a cold light. He made up his mind, and stopped the chakra to activate his body cells, and began to look for a suitable place to hide. "What are you looking for, uncle?" Uchiha-chan's voice sounded behind him like the Grim Reaper chasing after his life. "How is it possible? You're obviously a kid. How can you be so fast?" "Oh, who told you I'm a kid?" Akira Uchiha interrupted him. "I'm actually an old monster. Seeing you reminds me of the first cloud ninja who fought with me, the first Reikich." Why does this sentence sound so familiar? The cloud ninja felt that he heard it somewhere. At this time, Kaku, who was soaking in the hot spring, couldn't help but sneeze, and then cursed. "I hate colds the most. Don't you need money to see a doctor?" Looking at the boy in front of him, the cloud ninja felt powerless. He couldn't beat him, and he couldn't talk to him, so he was ready to throw the explosive tag again. "Oh ho, this move again." Uchiha-chan chuckled and snapped his fingers. "Who gave you the permission to run away?" The cloud ninja was immediately horrified to find that when he heard the sound, his chakra quickly became chaotic, and the most direct manifestation was the chakra's control immediately became chaotic. Finally, the chakra became unstable and the cloud ninja fell from the tree. "Don't come over." The cloud ninja who fell to the ground felt that Akira Uchiha was coming closer, and then he immediately took out a kunai and put it on the neck of the little fox. "Hostage," Akira Uchiha said with a funny tone. "Look at what's in your hand." The cloud ninja turned his head and saw a terrible white snake. "What's wrong with him?" Looking at Akira Uchiha squatting in front of the unconscious cloud ninja, Shinakushina asked strangely. "It's just a genjutsu, maybe he's having a good dream." Akira Uchiha stood up and saw Shinakushina, who was tied up, like a cute worm, wriggling not far away, and he couldn't help but laugh. Chapter 257. Compared to the land of rivers, the land of fire is much more comfortable. Akira Uchiha sat in front of the fire, grabbed a handful of soil and smelled it, then let the fine sand flow through his fingers. Outside the cave, the rain was still dripping. In the blurry scenery of the night, only the green pine trees were particularly clear, like a mountain peak that no one has ever reached, standing tall in the hazy rain. Shinakushina didn't say anything, just looked at the boy with a smile, and at the same time, pretended to inadvertently move her but closer to the boy. She was a little shy. She hadn't seen Akira Uchiha for almost a year, so she felt a little unfamiliar. Are you hurt? Akira Uchiha looked at Shinakushina and asked. He naturally knew the little fox's little tricks. No. Shinakushina shook her head honestly. During the whole kidnapping, not only was she not hurt, she was also in a daze for a long time, and now she was full of energy. Akira Uchiha nodded, then rolled the Kata duck on the fire. Under the high temperature, the Kata duck was sizzling, and it emitted a tempting fragrance. Chun, weren't you on the battlefield? How did you appear here? The little fox swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and finally turned her eyes to the duck, and asked in confusion. I told Nanoyu to inform me if something happened to you, so I came in time. Thank you. I was worried about what would happen if I was taken away. Fortunately you were here. Shinakushina stuck out her tongue and said happily. But in less than half a second, she changed her face like a Sichuan opera and said fiercely. Uncle Sandame also said that he sent ninjas to protect me. He didn't even know that I was taken away, that big liar. Akira Uchiha didn't know whether Naruto was a liar or not, but every time he saw Shinakushina, he could feel that there were ninjas around to protect her. So it doesn't make sense that the third Hokage would remove this layer of defense. Most importantly, Danzo is the captain of the Woodleaf Garrison. How can he not notice the movements of the Cloud Village? Danzo. Akira Uchiha pondered for a moment. As his father's teammates, other than the third Naruto and Koharu, he did not have much contact with the others. He could only judge based on the images in the manga. However, those were all images from decades later. In the present, everyone's personality was definitely different from back then. Take Orochimaru for example. Can you use the image of Ant Snake? Of course not. He was a straight man now. Who would have thought that he would become a transvestite in the future? In short, if it was really Danzo who did it, then the root of the dark sect had decayed early. Chun, let me tell you, the Woodleaf Commercial Street recently opened a tricolor meatball shop. It's very delicious. Nanoyu and I have been there many times. When the boss opened, I ate 58 skewers and won a permanent 30% discount coupon. We can go together in the future. Without you, the village is very boring now. Without Akira Uchiha asking, Shinakushina herself talked a lot until she found that Akira Uchiha had fallen asleep. Without the hypnosis of words, Akira Uchiha naturally woke up, rubbed his eyes and said, "Why don't you talk? You were sleeping." Shinakushina was a little annoyed. "I can hear you even when I'm asleep." "Oh well. You continue to sleep, I'll talk. Do you know that your weapon shop is doing very well now? I wanted to get some pocket money from it, but Nishimura Sensei did not agree. She said that she would only give me pocket money if I work." "Ha ha ha, then there is no other way. The shop has been handed over to Nishimura Sensei and Uncle Dai. However, I still have some pocket money in my wallet. You can use it to spend." Talking to Shinakushina was a very pleasant thing for Akira Uchiha. He did not need to use his brain when talking and his mouth could say whatever he wanted. "Here you go." After a while, the roast duck was finally done. He tore off a duck leg and handed it to Shinakushina. "Thank you." The girl patted her stomach, which was already growling from hunger, and started eating in big bites. She had not eaten anything since the evening and was famished. "Chun, will you send me back to the village tomorrow?" Shinakushina, who was eating half of the duck, suddenly asked. There was a hint of anticipation in her voice. Akira Uchiha shook his head and said, "I can't go back to Woodleaf for the time being." "Oh." Shinakushina was a little disappointed. However, Akira Uchiha changed the topic. "I will bring you directly to the command center in the country of River. Someone will bring you back to Woodleaf from there." "Ah, that's great." Shinakushina shouted as she waved the duck leg. She was so happy that she could fly. How was this a kidnapping? This was clearly an outing. If possible, she was willing to do it a few more times. Akira Uchiha wiped his hands and placed them behind his head. He looked at Shinakushina's childish face and could not help but shake his head. At this moment, he felt that time was passing too slowly. After a year, Shinakushina still had not grown up. At this moment, Shinakushina was not the only one who was happy. Naruto, who was far away in Woodleaf, was also feeling the same. Even so, he did not intend to let things go. Although he was usually tolerant, it did not mean that anyone could touch his reverse scale. Shinakushina and Kyubi were his reverse scale. As Naruto's gaze swept across the room, the jounin below sat up straight. Although it was already 2 o'clock in the morning, no one dared to show the slightest sign of sleepiness, especially Danzo, who had just rushed back from the daimyo house. I think everyone knows about this incident. Just this evening, there was a shocking kidnapping incident. But what are the guards, the barrier guards, the umbu, and the root doing? The enemy has already attacked the village. Who can tell me? What are you all doing? Is it going to be Naruto's turn to be kidnapped next time? Listening to Naruto's words, Danzo twisted his body uneasily, causing the chair to squeak. In his plan, the Raikage would send people to kidnap Kyubi Manchuriki, and then the root would intercept them and recapture Manchuriki. As long as the plan succeeds, then Naruto will take full responsibility, and Danzo himself can appear as a hero and gain a lot of reputation. Coupled with the years of war, the villagers have long been disgusted. As long as the public opinion is slightly manipulated, even if it can't force Naruto to step down, it can cause a lot of trouble for him. Then, how many people can compete with him in the next Naruto election? But the problem is that the premise of all this is that Kyubi Manchuriki is recaptured by the root. But until now, Danzo has not received any news about this from his subordinates. Coupled with the flying ape Nichiren's expression, did he manage to rescue Kyubi Manchuriki? Or did the flying ape Nichiren think that Shinakushina can't be saved, so he decided to make the first move and let me take the blame? I can't do it. Chapter 258. Danzo was waiting. He was waiting for an opportunity to turn the tables. As long as Kyubi Manchuriki hasn't been rescued, he will have a chance. But Sandame Naruto waved his hand and signaled Koharu, who was sitting next to him, to read the order. Danzo had a bad feeling in his heart before the order was discussed by the 4 of them, but this time he didn't receive any notice. Koharu glanced at Danzo, sighed, then slowly opened the document and said, "The final decision of Sandame Naruto and the Elders' Council. First, the 3rd and 5th Umbu team captain will be removed, and the vice-captain will be temporarily appointed. Second, Shimura Danzo will be removed as the acting captain of the security force. Third, Shimura Danzo will be removed as the leader of the security force, and Mito Monitis will be temporarily appointed." Bang! Danzo suddenly stood up and looked at Sandame Naruto with a pale face. "What, you don't agree?" Sandame Naruto also stood up, and his aura was obvious. "I'm not responsible for the safety of Uzumaki Shinakushina. Why are you pushing the responsibility to me? What about the security of Woodleaf Village? The enemy sneaked into the village and left safely. Don't you have to take full responsibility as the captain of the security force? I was in the daimyo prefecture. Are your subordinates also useless?" Danzo calmed himself down and continued. "Yes, I am responsible for my negligence. But what about you, Naruto? You are responsible for not recovering Shinakushina, much more than me." As soon as he said this, the patriarchs of the various clans who have been watching the show suddenly understood. This kind of questioning of Naruto is not unprecedented in the history of Woodleaf Village. When Sandame Naruto just took office, because of his young age and lack of prestige, many ninjas questioned him face to face. However, as time passed, such a thing had not happened for many years. Naruto seemed to have lost his last bit of patience. He shook his head and said, "Of course I am responsible. However, Shinakushina has now been safely brought back by the ninja I sent, so you don't have to worry about her." Danzo was shocked. When did this happen? Why didn't Root receive any news? This group of trash, they deserve to eat **T until it was hot. Also, I've already written a letter to the daimyo stating my problems, hoping that he can remove me from the position of Naruto, but he refused. Looking at Naruto's smug look, Danzo couldn't help but curse. "Isn't this nonsense? We're in the middle of a war. How can you be relieved of your duties?" He had no choice but to sit down again. Just when everyone thought that it was over, Sandaime Naruto didn't sit down. After sweeping his eyes around, he said in an extremely sad voice, "There are a total of 6 Umbu commanders, and I had to remove 2 of them. Elder Danzo, I had to remove 2 of them. Look at them. Which one of them is not in their prime? Which one of them is not the pillar of the village? Which one of them is not the person I like? They have failed in their duties. My heart is broken. Sandaime Naruto handed over the village to me. And now it's like this. I'm very sad. I'm guilty of Wood Leaf. I'm guilty to the villagers. I'm guilty to my subordinates. I can't wait to remove myself from my position. And you, the patriarchs, although all of you are sitting here in a dignified manner, are you that clean? I know that some of you are more derelict in your duties than these 3 people. Let me give you a piece of advice. Dig out your secrets and let them dry in the sun. Let them dry and clean up." For a time, the entire conference room was silent, and the momentum of a ninja was undoubtedly revealed at this moment. Sandaime Naruto stood with his hands behind his back and looked at the Naruto rock under the night sky, and said, "When I first became Naruto, I thought that the biggest enemy of the village was the 4 major countries. After the end of the war, I thought that the Shinobi clan alliance was the biggest enemy. After the Uzumaki clan was destroyed by them, Hanzo became a problem. Yes, after the victory over the Land of Rain, the sand became a life and death enemy. I'm now more and more clear that Wood Leaf's problem is not outside, but inside the village. It's in the Umbu root and the various clans. If we fail in our duties, the village will be ruined. And if you fail in your duties, the other villages will take advantage of the situation, and we will die without a burial place. Think about it. How many years has it been since the Warring States period? Forget it. The statue of Uchiha Madara is still standing in the Valley of the End, staring at you every day." Sandaime Naruto looked at the clock on the wall. The pointer pointed to 3 o'clock, and then he said with some interest, "I haven't slept for 20 hours, and I always want to say something to everyone, but there has to be an end to it. After thinking about it, I can only give you the words, take care of yourself." After he finished, he waved his hand and let everyone go back to rest. But for a while no one dared to move, but their eyes were focused on Danzo as if to say, "Big brother is waiting for you." Damn. Why didn't you look at me like this when I chose Naruto? Danzo couldn't help but admit that he was unlucky. He stood up and walked out. With the first person attracting the firepower, the people behind naturally had nothing to say and fled. Soon, only Sandaime Naruto and 2 senior advisors were left in the room. "Nichiren, are you okay?" "I'm okay, just a little excited. I've been wanting to say this for many years, but now I finally said it." Koharu also sighed. She has always been the most rational among them, but she had to admit that Flying Ape Nichiren's words were really satisfying. If it weren't for these clans, the Uzumaki clan might not have perished, and it wouldn't have caused a series of chain reactions, and Kuroto might not have died. After a moment of silence, Koharu couldn't help but ask, "Is it really the Cloud Village?" Yes, before killing the enemy, he used his Sharingan to confirm the other party's information. The specific information should be sent from the frontline command tomorrow. In this way, the identity of Shinakushina can't be hidden. If it can't be hidden, then it can't be hidden. We already know what we should know, and we won't know what we shouldn't know in the future. What about the Cloud Village? Should we declare war? Mito Monitis asked. Sandaime Naruto shook his head and said, "Although I also want to fight, it's not good for the village to fight on 2 fronts. Moreover, the Raikage and Inoki have already called a truce, waiting for us to attack. Since Shinakushina is safe and sound, let's forget about it this time. There will always be a chance in the future." Mito Monitis nodded, but in his heart he said, "When will the chance be?" Similar nonsense has been said many times. "Nichiren, what about Shinakushina?" Koharu asked again. Naruto looked at her strangely. His old friend was very concerned about Shinakushina. Probably because Shinakushina is Kyubi Manchuriki, so he replied, "Let her stay in the frontline command for the time being. And when the things in the village are dealt with, I will send someone to pick her up. At least she won't be kidnapped there." "That's true." Koharu glanced at Mito Monitis. "The village's security work will be handed over to you for the time being. Don't let this kind of thing happen again." Mito Monitis shook his head with a wry smile. Although it seems that flying ape Nichiren is very angry, but it won't be long before Danzo will be restored to his position, and the root will be returned to the hands of others. Although he thought like this, he still tacitly didn't mention Danzo. The four-man team that once worked together as one. Danzo may have left for good. Has he changed? Or has the world changed? Maybe no one has changed, it's just that there is no feeling that can last forever. Chapter 259. In the end, Shinakushina was brought back to Woodleaf by the Umbu. The battle on the battlefield was so fierce that the headquarters couldn't spare any ninjas to protect her. With the return of Shinakushina, the influence of the kidnapping incident slowly dissipated, and no one mentioned the Cloud Village again, as if it never happened. The third Tsuchikage was indeed a wise man. Although he was far away in the rock village, he was able to see through the flying ape Nichiren's thoughts earlier than anyone else. Since Woodleaf didn't intend to attack, the third Raikage would continue to attack the Earth Village sooner or later. So Inoki took the opportunity to send out troops and made a posture of attacking the Cloud Village's forces with Woodleaf. The other side quickly retreated and gave up a large area. When the third Raikage reacted, the two villages fought again, but the Cloud Village's advantage wasn't as big as it was in the beginning. As a chain reaction, the battle between Woodleaf and the Sand Village became more and more fierce. In August, the three generations of Kazekage attacked Woodleaf's supply unit alone, causing a food shortage on the front line. In September, Chiyo developed a new poison, which caused huge casualties to Woodleaf's forces and at the same time, stopped the advance of the front line. But soon the new poison was cracked by Tsunade. In the following 2 months, poison and detoxification became a new way of fighting on the battlefield. After this battle, Tsunade's reputation as a medical master became more and more famous. Although she was very proud, she was very modest. There's no such thing as a genius. I just used the time others used to eat ramen to detoxify the poison. Of course, there was a sentence after the full version. Ha 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 ha, don't call me the first female ninja of the shinobi world. I must be low-key. Oh, by the way, have you seen the Kawa country at 4 o'clock in the morning? The low-key and modest Tsunade, G was probably the case. Of course Tsunade was right. She did use the time to detoxify Chiyo's poison. At the same time, as her medical ninjutsu became more and more mature, the lethality of the sand's poison became more and more limited. Therefore, at the end of Woodleaf's 31st year, there were new changes on the battlefield. The number of ordinary ninjas in the sand gradually decreased, and the elite puppeteers began to arrive in large numbers. In order to deal with the puppet masters, Woodleaf began to reformulate a new combat strategy. With 10 elite jonins as the core, 60% of the ninjas will be divided into 10 groups according to their strength, and these groups will be dedicated to sniping the puppet masters on the battlefield. As for the remaining 40%, they were used as replacements and defense when the defensive line shrank. Akira Uchiha naturally took a position, but considering his young age, he was familiar with some of the ninjas on the list. About what Sensei said before, the hatred in this world. Nagato paused for a moment. I thought about it myself. Oh, do you have any good ideas? Jiraiya raised his head and asked. Peace, I don't know the way to peace yet. Nagato turned around and looked at Jiraiya seriously. But one day, I will break this curse. If there is peace, I will hold it tightly in my hand. His tone became more and more firm. Compared to the method, the more important thing is the power of belief. Jiraiya fell into deep thought. After a while he nodded. Is that so? That's a good idea. It is indeed possible. Got it. He suddenly shouted. What's the matter, Sensei? It seems that thanks to you, I can write a good book. Is that so? In that case, let's first confirm the name of the protagonist. Jiraiya rubbed his chin and looked at the noodles in front of him. Have you thought of it, Sensei? Yes. What is it? It's a secret. Jiraiya showed a proud smile. When the novel is written, you will know. He laughed and drank the ramen soup in the bowl. At the end of June, the wisteria tree next to the cottage bloomed. This time, It bloomed a month later than last year, as if it was waiting for something. The bright purple flowers glowed in the rich rain. Crystal clear water droplets stopped on the petals and slid down one after another, looking very beautiful. The rest is up to you. Jiraiya stood in the rain and looked at his 3 disciples. Don't cry, Yahiko, you will be seen as a coward. From the time they started living together in Woodleaf's 30th year, Jiraiya was very reluctant to part with them. Here you go, Jiraiya-sensei. Conan handed over a bunch of folded paper flowers. I will take good care of it. Conan, you will become a beautiful woman in the future. When you grow up, we will meet again. Jiraiya turned around and left. This country is poor, and there will be many painful things in the future. But, in the future, you will have to rely on your own strength to change this country. You have all grown up. Right, Nagato Naruto? Chapter 260. Akira Uchiha didn't know exactly when the Second Shinobi World War ended, but as September came, the atmosphere in the camp was getting more and more tense. Not only because of the war, but also because of the years of war, every ninja's heartstrings have reached a point where they are about to collapse. From Akira Uchiha's point of view, Sand Village is already an arrow at the end of its flight. In the previous war, they were barely able to hold on by piling up the lives of their people. But Woodleaf Village still has ninjas who haven't been transferred, and Sand Village is almost empty. In this case, surrendering is the right choice, but Sakura Shinobu insisted. Does the 3 generations of Kazekage think there is still a possibility of a comeback? Another Jonin meeting. This is the 8th one this month. When Akira Uchiha entered the tent, there were already many ninjas here. He smiled and greeted a few familiar Jonin. He also sat down quietly and prepared to listen to what Orochimaru will say next. Akira Uchiha couldn't help but doubt his eyes. He seemed to catch a glimpse of a figure that he hasn't seen for a long time. Jiraiya. Yes, it is indeed Jiraiya. Akira Uchiha was a little dazed. After all, they haven't seen each other for 2 years, and Jiraiya is still as handsome as before. Her painted face was filled with a sense of justice. Her curled lips were proud but not coquettish. Her slightly flushed cheeks made people feel infinite warmth. Her eyes were filled with joy, causing people's imagination to run wild. Her gently raised eyebrows hid her achievements and fame. Worthy of Jiraiya. It's really amazing. Only he can peek at Tsunade's body in such a shameless and dignified posture. Sure enough, he's completely different from someone like me who only dares to peek at her from the corner of my eyes. Akira Uchiha couldn't help but praise. Jiraiya really didn't insult the title of lascivious sage. It's just that Tsunade's clenched fist seems to indicate that she's not happy, and is about to explode at any time. But Jiraiya is Jiraiya. No matter what the situation, he will never give up. Sure enough, seeing is better than hearing 100 times. This is probably why he was able to cultivate Naruto. Orochimaru obviously didn't notice that his 2 friends were about to fight, and his face was full of unconcealable smile. Everyone this time, the village has sent another group of ninjas. He coughed lightly and continued. In order to make up for the lack of combat power, Jiraiya will be leading the team. Hearing Orochimaru's words, Jiraiya had no choice but to stand up and greet the ninjas in the tent. Although everyone knows Jiraiya and knows his strength, but in terms of prestige and merit, Jiraiya is far inferior to Tsunade and Orochimaru. No, it should be said that he's far inferior to Akira Uchiha. So even though everyone's face is smiling, they're actually cursing in their hearts. I'm fighting for my life on the battlefield, but you just disappeared for 2 years. Why did you come back now? This is Jiraiya's situation. It's a little awkward, but there's no other way. He needs a hard battle to integrate into this environment. It's best if it's a mission that's close to death but not dead. If Akira Uchiha had a suggestion, he thinks that facing the 3 generations of Kazekage head-on, or attacking the Sand Village's base by himself is a good idea. He feels that it's necessary to mention it to Jiraiya after the meeting. Ahem, that's all for the extra things, let's get down to business. Orochimaru also felt that the atmosphere was a little strange, so he quickly changed the topic. At the end of the last battle, we lost nearly 50 jonin, and the injured ones haven't been counted yet. Now there are about 100 jonin who can be used. Chunin's number is slightly more, but it's only about 200. According to the information sent back by the intelligence ninja outside, Sakura Shinobu's number is about the same. Then there's the specific team allocation plan. As long as there are no missing teammates, the genin team will be maintained. The team leader list is here. Those who are missing a team can come and get one later. The rest of the time was spent exchanging information. Whenever an information ninja came back from the front line, Orochimaru would pick out the information that he thought was difficult and discuss it. Finally, after discussing tactical cooperation for a long time, the Jonin meeting finally ended. Just as Akira Uchiha left the tent and walked towards the rest area, a voice came from behind. "Hey kid, wait for me." Akira Uchiha turned around and looked back, only to see Jiraiya limping over. At the same time covering the palm print on his face with his hand, he looked extremely sad. In just a few minutes, he was beaten like this. What kind of evil thing did Jiraiya do? "Shin, long time no see," Jiraiya said lightly. His long white hair swayed gently with the wind, and with a calm smile. He hasn't been beaten for 2 years, but he didn't feel any discomfort, he even enjoyed it. "Uncle, long time no see." Jiraiya walked around Akira Uchiha twice, then sighed. "I haven't seen you for 2 years, and now you're already a jonin." Obviously, even in the land of rain, he has been paying attention to Wood Leaf's situation. When he first heard the rumors about Akira Uchiha, he almost thought that it was the same name. How terrifying this talent is. But fortunately, Nagato gave him a lot of confidence, and in just 2 years, he has mastered 5 kinds of chakra nature changes. He is worthy of the legendary child of prophecy. "Uncle, are you going to see Watergate?" Yes, my lovely disciple." Jiraiya nodded. "Although we usually communicate, but we haven't seen each other for 2 years. Thank you for taking care of him." "Haha, don't say that. After all, Watergate and I are good friends." "By the way, Uncle, were you beaten by Tsunade-sensei just now?" Akira Uchiha pretended to be ignorant and asked. Jiraiya shook his head desperately, trying to protect his little dignity. "Orochimaru actually taught you to be a ninja who lacks common sense. Do you think Tsunade can beat me? If it weren't for her beauty, I would have beaten her." Jiraiya's mouth was full of pride, but he was helpless in his heart. Rope Tree clearly said in the letter that Tsunade only liked him now, and that she was dead set on him, and couldn't be driven away. He, who was full of confidence, didn't expect to be slapped in the face by reality as soon as he came back. "Tsunade doesn't just dislike Kato, I think she doesn't like men." Jiraiya thought so. After all, the only person who can resist Jiraiya's charm is that she likes women. While talking, the two walked through the long station and walked toward the training ground. At this time, Watergate usually practiced in the training ground. A person's success is not random, nor is it filled with chance. For example, Watergate was very talented, but the most terrible thing was that he worked very hard. As long as this kind of person didn't die, sooner or later he would succeed. This was what Akira Uchiha appreciated most about him. By the way, just as he was thinking, he suddenly looked at Jiraiya. "Uncle, I heard from Shigeru-sensei that you are writing a new novel." Yes, Jiraiya was a little proud. The Legend of Ninja Roots will definitely be a novel that will change the ninja world. Akira Uchiha nodded. He also wanted to see this legendary novel, so he quickly asked, "How much have you written? Are you almost finished?" Jiraiya blushed and held out 4 fingers. 400,000 words? Shake head. It can't be 40,000 words, right? Ahem, for words. Chapter 261. After a night's rest, early the next morning, Akira Uchiha packed up his mission equipment and walked towards the gate of the base. "Good morning, Uncle." Seeing Jiraiya coming out of Watergate's tent, he waved and greeted him. As for why Jiraiya would sleep with Watergate, after all, he hadn't seen his beloved disciple for 2 years. It wasn't hard to understand that he would stay overnight and sleep together. Otherwise, what could 2 men do? "Morning, kid." Jiraiya yawned, looking tired as if he didn't sleep well last night. Just in case, Uchiha-chan decided to ask this question. You didn't do anything strange last night, right? Jiraiya pursed his lips. I was just adjusting to the time difference. Akira Uchiha was completely speechless. It was only 4 or 5 hours away from the land of rain. Adjusting to the time difference, my ass. He was obviously used to the comfortable life and couldn't adapt to the battlefield. The land of rain is still the most comfortable. Jiraiya looked at the bustling base with disdain. It was a mess everywhere. It was a far cry from his wooden house. Xiaonan should have woken up to make breakfast at this time. He missed the 3 little ones. The air seemed to be filled with the smell of Xiaonan's breakfast. Oh, it smells so good. Akira Uchiha looked at Jiraiya with some admiration. The ability to fall into infinite Tsukuyomi while walking was not something that ordinary people could master. But wake up, Uncle Jiraiya. With your current state, are you sure this mission is not a suicide mission? When Akira Uchiha appeared at the gate with Jiraiya, who was immersed in YY, he saw Hatsuki Shigeru from afar. Although they both had white hair, this person was different. His ponytail was fluttering in the wind, which made him look very handsome. Although he didn't want to admit it, Akira Uchiha could only sigh. No wonder he was a man who could compete with him. Of course, it was because of his looks. Morning, Shigeru-senpai. Akira Uchiha greeted him. Shigeru nodded, then patted him on the shoulder and said, I'll rely on you this time. Haha, you must be joking. With this lineup, we can even attack the sand-hidden village. Why would we need me? Although Akira Uchiha was joking, he wasn't bragging. Orochimaru, Hatsuki Shigeru, Jiraiya, Akira Uchiha. With this lineup, is there any mission that can't be completed? In addition to Jiraiya, the other 3 have already made outstanding achievements in the Kawano country and have their own unique titles. As long as they can cooperate well, they are basically unbeatable existences. So the question is, what is this lineup for? Except for the 3 generations of Kazekage, Akira Uchiha really can't think of anyone else. But it's not that he is looking down on the other side. Although the 3 generations of Kazekage has been famous for a long time, he is nothing in front of the 4 of them. He is just a paper tiger. He has magnet release and the strongest Kazekage. He looks very powerful, but in fact he is useless. For example, if Akira Uchiha fought him one-on-one, in less than 5 seconds, Orochimaru would have to kneel down and pinch Akira Uchiha and beg him not to die. In the next few minutes, a lot of wood leaf ninjas came one after another, a total of nearly 200 people. I believe that everyone is clear about the main points of the mission. I won't say much in this situation. Orochimaru coughed lightly and continued. This battle will determine the victory of this war. After the war is over, the 3rd Naruto, Sama will not treat you unfairly for fighting for wood leaf for several years. Since the preparation is almost done, let's get ready to go. After Orochimaru finished speaking, he took the lead and walked out of the camp gate, followed by Hatsuki Shigeru, Jiraiya, and Akira Uchiha, followed by the other elite ninjas. A total of 200 people marched towards the main battlefield in a grandiose manner. If you encounter a battle, you just need to cooperate like before. In the process of marching, Orochimaru said to Akira Uchiha, anyone who has carried out a mission with Akira Uchiha knows that his genjutsu ability has improved the combat effectiveness of the team to the point of no return. At present, the enemy below the level of elite ninja has no way to resist his genjutsu. Even if they reach the level of a quasi-kage, it's enough for the enemy to be hit for a few seconds. A few seconds is enough for a speed-type ninja to kill the enemy dozens of times. Hatsuki Shigeru didn't speak, but from his expression, it seemed that he agreed. Only Jiraiya hasn't fought with Akira Uchiha, and his memory is still a few years ago. Some of the information, except for Orochimaru, was obtained from his precious apprentice Watergate. Akira Uchiha didn't have any opinion at all. After all, playing as a support doesn't take much effort. The group of people quickly crossed the Gobi Desert, and at this time, the Sand Shinobis, who thought that Konoha would hide and recuperate for a few days, were completely stunned. It wasn't until Wood Leaf's ninja team broke through half of the distance that the Sand Ninjas found them. When such information was sent back to the sand camp, Woodleaf's ninjas had already crossed 2/3 of the distance. As long as they reached the core area of the battlefield, and the sand ninjas didn't arrive in time, it means that the battlefield will be further shifted in their direction. This is actually a dangerous signal. As long as there is a sign of defeat, then Konoha's shinobi may take advantage of the situation and directly rush into the sand village's base. Anyway, there is no need to fight at that time. Woodleaf's ninjas will be able to win by releasing some range of ninjutsu. So in the face of Woodleaf's unconventional move, the sand ninjas immediately began to organize a defensive line. However, although there is a group of sand ninjas on the main battlefield, their number is pitifully small, and they will definitely not be able to resist Woodleaf's ninjas. So after receiving the information from the sand ninjas, the 3 generations of Kazekage took the lead and rushed out of the sand camp. As long as he is there, the main battlefield will be able to hold on for a while, if the follow-up support can catch up in time. In this war that can be said to determine the fate of the sand village, maybe they can really turn the tables. People have to have dreams, right? It's not that the 3 generations of Kazekage are looking down on their opponents, but there is no one on the same level as him in Woodleaf's team. This is an indisputable fact. Obviously, he didn't know about Jiraiya's arrival, or even if he knew, he wouldn't care. What? Who is Jiraiya? You're tuning into the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.